No, you're good, man.
Should go stick something on the wall.
Really. You just need one of those big stickers. Hey, if you got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition Home Gadget Geeks, March 21st, 2019. If you're joining us at 8 p.m. Central or 9 Eastern, you're joining us live. Welcome. Check in the chat room so we know that you're here. If you're catching this on theaverageguy.tv/live any other time, you've got the recorded version. Don't go anywhere. We're going to goof around for a few minutes and then we'll start. It's a long play podcast. Like if you got clickbaited into this thing and you're like, oh, tell me about a NAS server in 5 minutes. Not going to happen here. Not going to happen. The long play, this isn't where you come and you get all that. This is a community podcast. So hang tight. We're going to be getting going here in just a second. Ryan, thanks for checking in the chat room. Good to see you. I know Mark Robson will be out tonight. Mark started a new job and been pretty busy, not be able to make the live show, but he's back tonight. Tony wants to know who's the guy in the SkyDrive shirt.
How do I get to chat, Jim?
Oh, so go to theaverageguy.tv/live and below the video window is a link. We're just using YouTube chat.
Okay.
So it's the stuff embedded there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just easier.
But I don't want to play it back, so I have to pause
Chat wing went under.
Yeah, I heard about the chat wing.
Yeah. So it was it's actually worked out better because the chat stays with the video now, and it if you go back and watch it, you can watch the chat kind of mimic. So that's pretty cool. I think we're gonna here anyways. I think I'm gonna stay with it for now. At work, we're gonna switch to a service, I think, going forward. So guys, welcome. Good to see you out there. Mark's checking in. Good to see you, Ryan. Brian's checking in as well. Tony, thanks again for the connection to Unraid. That was a fun show. We're hoping to have them back on. Oh, maybe like we do with you, Dave, where it's kind of twice a year kind of thing, kind of check in. We're getting a good kind of base of, we think of like Aaron Lawrence, and I think of like Rich Hay. Rich will be on in a couple weeks. I think 2 weeks from now, maybe. Talk about Summit. He will.
Summit, what's that?
He will bring, let's Dave. This is weird. First year you and I have not been together. I
know. I told my wife Sunday, I said, I'm supposed to be gone, right? I'm supposed to be in Redmond.
I know.
Like, what? I said, I resigned. She goes, I didn't know that. I thought I told you. Whoops.
Yeah, I saw some tweets coming out of the summit, and I was kind of, for a moment, I was kind of like, darn it.
Yeah, it was always fun, but
yeah.
I'm past it.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was just having a hard time like justifying it anymore. You're kind of like, yeah. And if I'd submitted the video, who was the leads guy? What was his name?
That was Joe.
Joe, yeah. Joe would have let me. Joe would have just let I could have made anything, and he'd have been.
Yeah, we could have sent him our last YouTube video. Yeah, he'd been like, all right. See, that was part of the problem, Jim. I didn't feel like that was the correct thing, and they can't fire people. They don't fire people.
No.
They just let you skate by.
Yeah.
If you want to skate by, then there's guys like Rich and Ian Dixon. There's guys that are in the trenches. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
If I'm not doing that, then I shouldn't be in there. I'm just taking up space. So
I felt the exact same way. I mean, you kind of convinced me a little bit. Like when we started talking about this last year, I was kind of like, I'm kind of taking a slot, and it's great.
Said, one more year. We'll give it a shot. We did 18 and we came back. I came back. I had a pad full of notes and action items, and I get back here and I'm like, it's just not my beat.
Yeah.
That was my keyword at CES. Yeah. I learned that.
Right.
Pre-show. That's a good show item. I learned that. Someone comes up to you to try to, hey, come to our booth. I say, sorry, it's not my beat. You can keep walking.
You're not my beat.
All right. My beat.
Awesome stuff. Let me get to this.
All right, do it.
Let's do this thing here. Guys, welcome. Good to see you. Andrew, good to see you. Andrew, Mark, Tony, Brian, Ken, good to see you out there as well. Ryan, I think I said Ryan already. Brian. Okay. Welcome, guys. Good to have you. Dave, good to have you as well. Thanks for saying yes tonight. Always good to have you back. Let me do this thing. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 395, recorded on March 21st, 2019. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in Bellevue, Nebraska. Dave McCabe, did you think back when we first started Home Server Show that we'd be doing this for 9 years? Did you?
I listened to you introduce the video segment. I was like, I remember saying that, 5-6 years ago. This is a long form podcast. We are not going to answer your questions anytime quick.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about all the podcasts that you and I have done together. Mike Weger, you've been on now. How many? When do you think you started Home Server Show?
We did 4 years, right?
Okay, so 215. 200 shows. I did. How many Home Server shows did we do together? What did that end at?
Over 300. I did over 300 total. So, I mean, I started 2008 April. So I'm coming up 11 years.
Yeah. No, it was we're coming up on 400. I think of that with we'll get Christian to come back on. I'm going to try and get Zadler to come back on and join us for 400.
Right.
They've all been longtime guests. But I just think about all the time we were in pre-show just a second ago. We were talking, this is typically MVP week. And for 6 years, you and I roomed together at MVP Summit. And this year, both kind of together decided, it's time to give somebody else a spot to join the MVP team. And so Rich Hay is out there. He'll be here in a couple of weeks supporting him. But Dave, you kind of miss MVP Summit?
I do. I mean, I would be lying if I told you I didn't. Because, I mean, dude, you're at Microsoft on their campus. I mean, you and I, we would ditch classes and walk around, right? Just to get some exercise, stretch our legs, and just take up the Seattle scenery. And it was a great time. It's I just felt like I have moved on so much from my just all in Microsoft days. And I thought, I'm just taking up space. And you and I talked about it, but we never made decisions together. That was what was weird. We talked about it and we went our separate ways, right? We're back into our lives. And then we came back another 2 months later and I came out and said, "Hey, Jim, I retired." He goes, "Wait a minute, I retired." It's like, okay, we both retired.
Yeah, no, I think we both saw the writing on the wall and what was going on there. And it's great. It's perfect. I mean, there's still some great things going on at Microsoft. We still continue to cover them and talk about all those things Windows related, but it was a good time. Well, Dave, good to have you back on. I'll remind folks, if you want to get the show notes, there won't be a ton tonight. We're going to spend some time talking about some great stuff. But if you want to get the show notes to this show or anyone past ones, head out to theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget, if you want to download the mobile app, we want to thank our Patreon subscribers for kind of supporting that for us. Available Android, iPhone, great way to listen to, subscribe, and stream the app anywhere you're at. If you're traveling, the best way to listen to Home Gadget Geeks, go to homegadgetgeeks.com. Android and iPhone links are there for you. Great way to do it. Don't forget, join our Discord group. I reluctantly came to Discord. It's been a pretty good experience so far. Mike, we're getting some 40, maybe 40, 45. What do you think?
I've been having some great conversations over there. I think we started some different channels to kind of direct the conversation so you can follow the conversations you want, ignore the rest. I've had some great conversations with people around Unraid and Unify. So it's been a great resource for me. I think we've been having a lot of fun over there. I've learned some things, which I'll bring up in my story later on my Unify implementation. But yeah, it's been a fun community. So if you're looking for kind of that place you can kind of check in, you don't have to be there all the time, but throw something out there and have a awesome tech group to chat about it with. It's a good place to do it.
Good. Jump in right now. theaverageguy.tv/Discord. We'll get you there, take you there. Just jump in if you haven't created a Discord account. You can do that. We have a pretty well moderated group. And so sometimes those Discord groups can get kind of gangly, so to speak. And we're going to prevent that. So if you're looking for one of those experiences like you get at Home Server Show forums, now the reset forums, if you haven't joined over there, really a great group. If you want to do it that way, we kind of focus on Cyber Frontiers and Home Gadget Geeks, and we've been talking a lot about Unraid. We're going to catch up with Dave here in just a second on what's going on over at Reset. But if you want to join us over there, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Big thanks to John Pisano. I think I'm pronouncing that right. From last week from Unraid, jumping in here. John did a great job. Mike, that was, listen, if you're listening to this show and you haven't listened to the Unraid show, I can't think, this week I heard more things from guys saying I'm building an Unraid server. Mike, did you get that feeling?
I got that feeling too. And I think even the guys who have Unraid servers, we were all like, okay, what upgrades can we make? Right. We were all excited. We're all revved up about it. Fun to see other people giving it a shot though. And I'm excited because honestly, it's one of those systems that before I built it, I was the same way. She's like, oh, I've heard of it. But when you build it, it just works really well. I know Gavin, one of our listeners, has been in the Discord. He's been talking about his build lately. So he just did a major switch over and he said he's been loving it so far, been working really good. And he's been having some questions. And I am Spartacus out there in the Discord has been helping him out with certain things. It's been fantastic.
Oh, super good. Yeah, that's what that's kind of designed for. So I want to thank John for jumping in. We will definitely try and get those guys from Unraid back just as often as we can. We threw the pitch out to say, hey, got updates coming in, jump in. I'd love to hear about what's going on. Obviously, from the feedback that I got from the community on this, Neil had sent me a note. Neil, longtime listener, sends me a note when he likes the show. He said, really enjoyed the show. I'm going to look at Unraid. Very interesting. I bet you need at least 2 SSDs in there to have a good, reliable cache. So thanks for that feedback. I appreciate you guys letting us know. Great show. If you haven't listened to it yet, go back. 394 is that number. And we thank John for coming on. Big thanks to Tony Rayner as well. Tony kind of set that whole thing up. And Tony, I know we thanked you a bunch of times. But if you have a guest that you'd like to have on Home Gadget Geeks, and you can help me broker that, I won't take them all, but if you've got that kind of guest, let me know. We'll figure out how to get them on and have them kind of on the show. Well, we talked to him here just a few minutes ago, but Dave McCabe, my old friend from Home Server Show days. And Dave, I'm always surprised at how often that Home Server Show still comes up. I mean, it is a legacy show. Tell me a little bit though, what's going on at Reset? We read 2 years ago, maybe at a meetup, right? Has it been that long? Or has it been 3 now?
I don't even remember. Yeah, I sprung it on you guys. It was the next to last meetup. I sprung it on you guys. I had secretly put 3 episodes in the can with Reset. And I don't remember when I came to this, came to the decision, but we kept doing Home Server Show up and to the meetup. Because I always used to like to have one episode where I really talk about meetup, so people traveling could have something to listen to. Because I know when I used to hear things about what I was interested in, it would fire me up. So that's what I did. And so I took a volunteer from the audience, which was Joe Miner, had him come up, click some software, 2 buttons. I had physically programmed 2 buttons that one stopped the feed of Home Server Show and the other one started and published the feed of Reset. And there were 3 episodes that went live, and I don't know if people downloaded them on the way home or not, but
I did. I know I listened to them on the flight home.
That was the way, it went down. There's some secret video. I may have become somewhat overwhelmed with grief, I guess.
It was an emotional moment. We had done.
It was. I didn't realize it too. I was just like, holy cow, what is this coming out of my face? Ended Home Server Show and started Reset, and that kind of let me spread my wings a little bit, where I didn't feel bad about talking about automation and security cameras, because the Home Server guys, just like you experienced with Unraid last week and this week following, those guys want to talk nothing but drives and storage and RAID, and they want to talk about that 24/7. And the good guys, they didn't mind me doing my own thing with Home Server Show, which we did quite a bit. But I felt like it was at least worth a change. And so we spawned reset.fm, and we kind of renamed the homeservershow.com forums, although I have not changed that URL. I keep saying that I'm going to.
It's some work. It's some work to get all that stuff. And you're afraid of SEO. Like Home Server Show forums have been a goldmine for you in a lot of ways of SEO and traffic and things coming in. Right. I mean, as a forums owner, you put a lot of time into securing it and de-trolling it and keeping the spam out, right?
I did that. I don't know what my deal was, Jim, but I started homeautomationforums.com. I started Surface Geeks, which ran parallel. Each one of those 2 sites had its own forum. And then I started seeing, 5-8 years ago, I started seeing the writing on the wall. I had all of this stuff. I started smartware forums or something, and it was just getting out of hand. And so it took me a better part of a year to migrate Surface Geek forums and the home automation forums into Home Server Show. So I had to move the blog posts, and then I had to move the forum posts, and that just kind of got swallowed by Home Server forums.
Well, one of the best communities, I think, in, you know, as long as I'm podcasting, Dave, I still kind of consider the work that we do here at Home Gadget Geeks. You know, we've probably picked up some new listeners that don't know the days of Home Server Show. But I still consider the work I do kind of an outgrowth, a spin-off, so to speak, a growth. Maybe that's not the right word, but a growth out of, because that's like a mole.
You're a pretty growth.
Out of Home Server Show. And that's kind of the, you know, for me, that's where I kind of started. If folks wanted to join the Reset forums now, what's the best way for them to get over there? Because if they like this community, if they've just found us and they're in our Discord group or whatever, or on Facebook, and they want to come over, because I would say it's really one and the same community in a lot of ways. I've always done a lot of things to do that. What's the best way for them to get over there and join the forums?
Yeah, I mean, everybody remembers homeservershow.com, and that will take you straight to the forums. And also, if you go to resetforums.com, that'll take you out there too. Now, I'm having a database problem on the blog side of things. So I went from 3 WordPress sites and 2 Envision PowerBoard sites, and I moved all of those into homeservershow.com. So it's kind of been a database. It's been a mess. And I did an upgrade just this past weekend. Did upgrades. I kind of get forced into upgrades via security issues and bulletins and whatnot. So I still have to maintain that. And it broke the WordPress side, which is not actually WordPress, but all the articles are still kind of formatted that way. It's a mess, but it's all out there. And the forums are still a great community. I mean, it's still very heavy storage. Yeah. It's very microserver based, and it's very Q&A. A lot of guys come in with a question. Some get their answer and leave. You know, some get their answer and stay and find a great community. But we still talk automation, and networking is huge. I mean, it's huge.
We're going to talk a little bit about networking tonight, Dave. Thanks for saying yes, and it's always great to have you on here. Yeah. And I'm an avid Reset listener, by the way. That's one of the podcasts I don't miss. It's just great to hear you. I podcasted with you for so many years where we were doing this together. And you're a really good solo podcaster. I don't think a lot of people can pull that off. When I first found you on Home Server Show, the first 10 shows, I listened in succession, about, 10 hours in a row on a way back from a trip from Colorado. And you're a really good solar podcaster. So if you haven't subscribed to Reset yet, do that. Head out. You can just search for Reset, and you can find that out anywhere podcasts are aggregated, and get listening to that. Dave, you're probably every other week. Is that pretty consistent?
Yeah, I've been, I would say I've been good at doing every other week, every other third week. I've been very bad at every other week. Okay. But I'm accepting that because that's how I came into it. One of the reasons I needed to make a change is just things are happening.
Yeah.
And I know I've said it before, and I've always blamed you because you said one day when we started out, he's like, when we were first meeting, I was like, well, I got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. He goes, oh, okay, that's cool. I said, just wait. You're going to get busy. Trust me. You are going to get busy. So now I have a 6th grader and a 4th grader. And wow. I mean, if we're doing something every single day, if I'm not driving them somewhere, we're working on papers or we're building something, we've got the saws out and we're covered in sawdust to build some trebuchet for science class, or, it's always something.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't do it. If I need to skip a Friday, I just skip a Friday.
Right. Mike, you're a couple years behind Dave in that, right?
Yeah, and you called it for me, right? Like, because when we met, I was still doing open mic night, and you said, okay, you don't have kids yet, because I was back before I had kids. You said, just wait till you have kids, and sure enough, even Suit and Scrubs, we're like a few weeks behind right now, and we're finding that we're trying to find our cadence there, and things just happen when you have these young kids, and mine are only 2 and 1, so the only activities they do are my activities, right, or just going to bed, but still, just it takes the time away from you.
No, right on. In the decade we've been doing this, or I've been doing this, of course, my kids have left. So, we had Sarah on, I don't know, 5 weeks ago or something like that, 4 or 5 weeks ago. And I asked her the question, how do you, the guys want to know, why do you let me podcast so much? And her answer is basically like, to get you out of my hair, to be honest. Right? So it's for me, it's a different world. I can podcast all the time, and my kids are gone. But yeah, for both of you guys, it's been fun to make that switch a little bit, Dave. At one point in time, you were pretty regular, and I was a little sketchy. And then as my kids started departing, that kind of changed a little bit, and you've gotten really busy, Mike. We have you on probably 3 out of 5, in this scenario. So life gets in the way. I think the lesson there, right, for all of us is go with what works, right? It's just, you have these different times in your life. I think tech is the same way, right? I mean, we all love to sit around and build these servers and do this stuff, but at some point in time, you got to kind of step away from the machines and spend some time with the family, right? I mean, all that tech is great, but if you're building it for the family and you're never with them, doesn't make much sense. Mike, you seem to have a pretty good balance there of being able to step away from that and spend time with the kids. How do you do that and then balance it with the tech?
For me, it's a little bit easier because they're so young. They go to bed at 7:15, right? And that leaves a lot of time after that for Hannah and I to do what we want, whether it's we watch a movie together, we hang out, or I come down here and tech out for a little bit. So I have that time now. It'll change as I get older, but right now it's a pretty easy cadence of wake up, get the kids ready, take them to school, go to work, come home, eat with them, play with them for like an hour, if that, depending on when I get off work. Then they're in bed. So it's fairly easy at this age to balance, but like weekends, those are gone, right? Like those used to be all day. I could devote a whole Saturday to a project, a whole Sunday to a project, and it's just not a possibility at this point, which is fine. You have that balance.
Dave, as your kids have gotten a little bit older, are you finding the technology needs for them are changing with that? You talk a lot about iPad time on your show. Like right now, that's a big deal in your household, right? The time the kids get on the iPad. Are you finding that's changing, or what kind of challenges you talk circle, right? You talk about trying to secure the internet for these kids. There was a time when I spent an enormous amount of time. Now I don't even think about it. They're gone. I don't care. So are you finding things are changing as the kids are getting older?
Yeah, I'm coming up against that, that want and desire of the older child to communicate with friends, to be social, and to be on it 24/7. As a 6th grader, they just can't handle that. I've let that leash out, right? And every time I do, they take it and they run, and they just run off a cliff, crash and burn. Pull them back and then learn from it. And then, it's kind of a couple little lessons, right? Like if I did give him a phone, what's going to happen? Well, 6 gigabyte later on my Project Fi account, we had some chargebacks. I invoiced my 6th grader the other day because of YouTube. And so I'm just learning. I've learned I need, I got to set some limits. If you give them a rope, they will hang themselves. The other thing is I always tell my 6th grader, I said, if you jump off a cliff, what's the first thing you need to do? He's like, I don't know, like pick a spot to land, I said, well, when you land, what's going to happen? I said, just look up, because there's a 4th grader about to land on you, and that's your brother.
Yeah.
And anything you do, he's going to follow you right off that cliff. And so, iPads are huge. They've had them. He was a beta class in the 3rd grade as a 3rd grader, having an iPad 24/7. It goes home with them. So in our school district, you can rent them for, I think it's $85 a year, and you get the iPad, and everything's done on the iPad. All the assignments come, They have logins. There's a web page that they can look at, and they can literally see every teacher, every assignment, every grade, all their progress, and I can get feedback on that same site. And it's just you kind of give up at that point. It's like, well, maybe they should have tried Surface RT. You remember those days? Why didn't that work in school? Well, schools don't want that.
Yeah.
Why don't they try Chromebooks? Well, they're on iPads. They'll never have Windows laptops. I don't know if my kids will ever have a Windows laptop in school. Maybe when they get older and they need, that personal device. But right now they're all iPads, and they get their work done.
Yeah. Mike, as you think about your oldest, who's 3, 4?
2.5, yeah.
2.5. Okay, so you're still a ways away from that, but are you thinking about screen time at this point?
Jim, I'm not a ways away from that. That's the scary part. So tonight he was FaceTiming my parents. He loves to do that. He fully knows how to turn on the effects and make himself a lion on FaceTime. He knows the exact buttons to push, swipe over, click on the lion. Look, I'm a lion. I mean, and when we went to Utah or Wyoming, just a week ago, we let him take the iPad for the airplane ride. And I mean, that kid just knows everything. He can get out of his Plex app where he watches his Daniel Tiger, and he can get into the actual game he wants to play. Crazy for a 2.5-year-old. And he asks for it all the time now, right? Already iPad, Daniel on the iPad, he's already asking for it at 2.5 years old. So yeah, it's someone that Hannah and I already have to think, like, the very limited time he has it, is that already too much for him? Yeah. Right? Like, if he knows how to use it that well, maybe we're letting him use it a little bit too much. And then I'm like, well, it's also going to be his future. So as long as he's engaging and playing in other ways and he's not on it all the time, I don't think it's too bad to let him have a little bit of time to get to know these machines. The content is going to be interesting for me. You talk about the filtering of the internet. So I've been preemptively playing with Untangle. We talked about how I implemented Untangle as my router, and been playing around with that, seeing how well it works, what kind of things it can do. So, I didn't expect it to be a concern this early. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, no, it comes up on you fast. My granddaughter,
2.5.
My granddaughter, who's 3, sent me a Snapchat from his mom's phone the other day, video, and she didn't know what she was doing, but she got into it, was able to take video, put some things on it, and then send it. She'd seen mom does that a lot. I get a lot of Snapchats from my daughter-in-law, and of her mostly. She's filming her and sending those to me, which has been great. But I think we're seeing, and you're right. I mean, my granddaughter can swipe through, and I think if you're listening to this and you're my age and you've got grandchildren or children at this point, these kids at 2, 3, and 4 can operate that phone pretty quickly. Dave, you've been through some filtering options, and I know I've been listening to on Reset talk about Disney Circle and some other things. Right now, if you were to recommend to a dad or a mom a security device to put on, I'm a big Bitdefender box guy, but I don't have kids trying to hack my network anymore. So I actually don't know how well it really works, because nobody's trying to do that here. You've got that, Dave. You're in the prime. Mike's kids aren't to that point where they're actively trying to find that stuff. Your 6th grader is, whether you know it or not, right? He's out there trying to find stuff. What have you found works for a parent? What would you say works best right now, at least in your experience?
Well, I mean, every parent is going to be different. There's going to be those parents that absolutely do not want any type of monitoring device whatsoever. And man, I'm just like, that's fine. Everybody's different, right? But then, there's the other side. There's brand new cell phone going to a kid, right? You want to be able to do Find My iPhone. You want to be able to check how much data they're using, whether you do that via your plan, Find My iPhone, or you get some kind of app that does that for you. And there's a handful of apps that do that. There's a great post, I'll go find it out there on the Reset forums, and where I was comparing 3 or 4 of these, and I do that a lot. I'll throw out a question. Hey, what do you guys think about these? And the parental control apps. I've used a few, and you've mentioned Circle several times, and that has been a great little device for my network. It's actually an ARP poisoning device. So there's several different layers, bridges and ARP poisoning. And And it does that, but the speeds that I get on my internet account, it doesn't affect me whatsoever. And I get about, I don't know, 175 down, 12 up. So, and it runs that via Ethernet easily. And that allows you to turn off, a couple of things. You can turn off Snapchat or, app level type things, and you can block all kinds of other things and give them, it's all the bedtime, pause the internet. That's the key word.
Shut it down at night, right?
Yeah.
You had mentioned in the last reset, you'd been using Untangle, Mike. You mentioned that. And then you were like, as soon as you have to shut something off, like this is the real problem with these, right? Is if they're too simple, they're not granular enough to really lock a lot of things down. If they're too granular, Dave, you experienced a situation where things stopped working. And then the kids, of course, are putting a lot of pressure. Get this thing up and running, Dad. It's Saturday morning. I need iPad time now. And you're like, screw it. I'm just gonna put I'm gonna nuke the thing, right?
Right. You turn everything off, and then the next day after school, they're on YouTube, searching garbage. But Untangle's a great firewall. I love that box. I mean, it is $50 a year, well spent. And for many geek households, that's going to work. It is so detailed on what you can do with ad blocking and firewalls and malware protection and web filtering. I filtered myself before, I'm searching something and I'll get into the weeds on Reddit and it's just like, this site is blocked. I'm like, oh crap, hope I don't get caught. But it's great for that. But then I got into okay, how can I do time filtering and, bedtime? And a big thing here is wake up time. So they try anything and everything to get more time, especially on the Xbox. So if they roll over at 6 a.m., most people would be like, oh, it's 6 a.m. I woke up, but I'll be back asleep in, 10 seconds. But, not a sixth grader. They're like, dang, it's 6 a.m. I got a lot of gaming time before the parents wake up. They'll get up and they'll go downstairs, but not if you have the internet turn on at 7 a.m., right?
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things that you fight with those, and some are better than others. And Untangle, it's just, there's layers. And I know Mike knows this. There's so many layers of things that you can do. And you can't just say, this is the profile for the kid, and this is his internet time, and this is the sites he can go to. You have to flag the MAC address with a username or however you want to do it. There's so many different ways to do it in Untangle. And then you can say, apply firewall rules. Well, if you want to turn them off at 9 p.m., you have to actually tell the firewall to block all traffic, for this MAC address between this time. And then you have to do this in several places. And to undo that is time consuming. It's
got the most options, but they just don't make it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not the fault of Untangle. This is a wonderful small business, even a, enterprise device and software. So it's really not, they don't have a home product. We, as the end users, force them almost via the forums to say, we would like to have a home key, because they used to limit this for, testing in your home, 50 devices, right, Mike?
Yeah. Before they came out with that home key.
Yeah. Several years ago, we're all like, dude, 50 devices, I've got that in my living room. Come on, you got to open this up. So they finally did. And it's $50 a year. So I've got it. It's turned off. I'm trying something different. And it's not that I don't like it. It's just, it's not serving my needs right now.
Yeah. Well, I have this saying, options equal confusion. And a buddy of mine taught me that in some of these more complex options that we get, you can get more granular for them. And I think, Dave, this is what you're struggling with right now is you want some control, but you don't want to have to spend a ton of time administrating it. And when something goes wrong, you want to be able to fix it quick. When the kids can't get on at 6 a.m. or 7, you want to be able to quickly go in and do that. You don't have to burn the thing down just to get it working. which I heard you say, you know, basically you're like, okay, I'm just going to take Untangle down.
I did. Yeah. I did. I burn it down. I'm like, I don't know what holes I'm opening up, but shut up, get away from me. It's 6 a.m. I'm going back to bed.
No, and
now
that's
look
real.
at porn.
Like, I mean, that's a
crazy.
Real. Mike, for you, you know, you're working on Untangle now, and it works, and it's 2 adults, and for the most part, the kids aren't pushing the system. But there's going to come a day, right, when the kids start pushing the system, and you basically become a sysadmin at that point. And Dave is right. If you tell them, like, the internet resets at 6, you could say it's 5. They will wake up and like be there. Now during school days, you can't get them out of bed, you know, before 7 or 8. But Mike, do you fear that complexity at all, Mike? As you think about, I mean, you're using that now, but as you start working, do you fear that complexity at all?
No, for a few reasons. I don't think I'll be filtering too much, honestly. I think it will be a lot more time control. And honestly, I'm really on board with giving them, having a, you know, with Unify, the great part about it, you just create another Wi-Fi SID, right, for the kids. Don't give them the password to all the other ones. And so their device is connected to this one, then just change the password every once in a while. You know, change the password every night and then tell them what the password is. And, you know, whenever they want to get back on it. And I'm sure that'll get old, but I'm hoping that by the time my kids are older, you know, it won't be too big of an issue with the time and stuff like that. And the filtering, I plan on filtering the same stuff that I would filter for myself. I'm going to filter for my kids. And then see how that goes.
Yeah.
Ask me again, though, Jim, in like 4 years.
Well, it's change. Yeah,
it'll
no,
change.
Yeah.
Don't set it in stone because it will change.
Yeah.
It's as the kids grow older and they get different needs, and that very first time you find your kid surfing porn, and it is unjarring. Like you just go, it's so different. Like I remember that moment when I saw URLs coming through, and you're like, you know, you can't move fast enough, right? Yeah. And these are your kids, your children. It's not like you've never seen it before, but when it's, you know, it's in front of the eyes of your children, you just lose your mind. And then of course it is all of a sudden it's you know, it's Eastern Europe lockdown, and there's walls being put up and nobody's leaving the country, and it's pretty unjarring, right? And I think, Dave, you're a little bit farther along on this. I've gone through the whole cycle on this. Mike, you're kind of starting on this. There's always a battle to kind of keep it, filter it, limit it, kind of keep it safe, right? Mike, I think you kind of come from an approach of like, I just want to keep it safe. Dave, you where your kids are at, they've got homework, they've got responsibilities, they got things they need to get done. You've got to kind of, if you don't shut it down, they'll be on it all the time. It's you know, they'll shirk those responsibilities, right?
Well, and it's sometimes not a matter of, okay, anytime I give my kid the iPad, he's going to, you know, playboy.com. It's not that.
Totally
it's just they can get so far into the weeds so easily, you know. They'll be on their homework and then an idea gets them, or they look something up, they watch a YouTube on it, and then, you know, 40 minutes later, they're still on YouTube. Pen has never touched paper.
Yeah. But
they did what they started out to do. So, you know, it's almost, it just helps them evolve and keep focused and keep straight. And
yeah, right on. Ryan says you can do it, Mike. He uses Untangle for 2,000 plus students and guest devices every year. And you can, you know, totally in that environment. Other Jim says, give them the password when their chores are done. We had a version of that. We had this software called Enough. It didn't filter, but it did allow them to log in and had a separate login that would lock Windows down. And we could set an hour a day, not have to monitor it. And then if they did extra chores, they could earn an extra hour. And holy cow, not every kid that I had, but some of those were definitely motivated by computer time. And I could get toilets clean. I could get floors mopped. The things I could get for computer time. Some of the other kids didn't motivate them. They didn't care. Then I had one kid that tried to hack it all the time. Like he was trying to Jones that thing just as much as he possibly could. So as a parent, you know, one size doesn't fit all in this matter of security. You're going to have kids don't even care. They're fine with the time. They're fine with their surfing. They're going to be fine their whole life. It's just going to be the way it is. Then you're going to have one that's just going to run off the rails. Like they're just going to try everything. They want to get into crazy stuff, and it will drive you crazy. I think I say all this to say is you got to stay on your toes. And I think there's no one size that fits all. There's no one product. Dave, you've been through probably since I've been listening to you and know you, I bet you've been through 4 or 5 different products to try and get it done.
I mean, one of the more interesting things to do is find one that you're looking at and you're about to invest in, and then go over to Reddit and just start searching that device and certain other keywords. Parents, let's say circle. So search circle defeat, circle parents, circle block, circle hack, anything like that. And you will find a group of kids working together to get around those things, whether they're trying to do VPNs. You know, kids chat via Google Docs, they chat via Microsoft Docs, they chat via other little games. Words with Friends, they use as chat, not the game, just as chat. Yeah. You know, they'll do anything and everything to get around that. They'll try different things until an app will break through, and they'll, you know, they talk at school. Hey, you know, Dad's not blocking Words with Friends. Chat me at 10 o'clock tomorrow night.
Right. They have their own forums. Like they have their own home server show forums. Like we're out there trying to do great stuff, trying to stop them. They have a secret, their own kind of culture, trying to defeat it. That's a little and I did the same thing, Dave. I kind of went out to this underworld of teenagers trying to get through all the systems. And you're like, certainly they're not smart enough to defeat us with this. But you are right. They are absolutely working together. Like, oh, I tried this. I did the same things we do when we run into a problem with Unraid. They're getting together like, hey, how do I get my dad has Circle. How do I get back past this? Tony in the chat room saying he finally put the PC in the den so that he can see everything. That's kind of, we, you know, in the old days, we kind of, when we'd move a file from one PC to another, we call it sneaker net. This is a way of filtering called visible net. Like just put it in a spot where it's in public.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I hope I have the same stamina my parents do for discipline, because that was our rule, right? There was no using any computer unless it was in the office or at the kitchen island, right? You could sit at the kitchen island, you could sit in the office. Both those places were public. You couldn't have your device anywhere else. It was that simple. Like you cannot take your devices anywhere else.
But it's not that easy anymore though, because you wait till they ask for an Xbox,
right?
You know? There's just a multitude of things that they can get in on there. And then when they have a phone or an iPad, while they're waiting for the lobby to fill up for their game, they'll be on the phone or the iPad, you know, chatting or doing something. So,
and that's the other piece about this too. It's like, I mean, my watch has LTE now. In 6-7 years, isn't everything just going to have LTE? Like 5G is going to essentially, home networks might not even be necessary. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to block stuff. And now it really comes down to a device level app, no longer network filtering, because they're not even connected to your network. They're LTE or they're 5G, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's real. No, the deal is real. And I think you've as a parent, if you're in this space, and most of us are, as I look at the chat room and I know you guys, we've spent a lot of time together. There is, you know, either it's children or grandchildren that are coming up, and I don't worry about my grandchildren as much as I did my children going in there. The kids aren't here that long. They're not spending a lot of screen time when they're here, not because we say you shouldn't. We just try to occupy them the whole time we're here. We just try and engage. Of course, as grandparents, you have a lot more energy to do that than you did as parents. As parents, like, God, just go do something and get out of my face, right?
Well, that's the thing. You don't want the Xbox in your living room where you're trying to enjoy, you know, the latest TV show. Right. You're like, y'all going to play Fortnite and Minecraft, go downstairs. Right. So you give them the PC downstairs or the Xbox downstairs. They inevitably take a tablet or a phone with them. So yeah, they're like, oh crap, what did I just do? I just put them out of my sight. So
yeah. No, it's that we could spend hours talking about this and all those kinds of things that we've done. It is one of those things, to be honest, in the community, Dave. You and I have been doing this together 10 years. Let's just say that for 10 years. This is a topic that comes up all the time. We started with home servers, but we've talked about VPNs. We've talked about filtering. We've talked about data backup and storage. We've talked about all these things, but it's funny. you guys, as your kids have been getting into that space, of course, now that filtering has become interesting. And so it'll be fun to work through the next 10 years with you guys as we hear what you're doing. And as the kids grow, guys, that's going to go super fast. Like, we laugh at that, but Dave, it wasn't long ago I joined you on Home Server Show episode 40. That was my very first Home Server Show with you. That seems like just yesterday, and yet that was 10 years ago. So it goes super fast. Jeff in the chat room just joined us. He had sent me an email question. I want to run this by both of you guys. And he sent an email into us, by the way, jim@theaverageguy.tv, if you want to get your emails into the show. This is a fun one because it kind of talks about a lot of home automation. Dave, you've also been talking on Reset a lot about home automation. So Jeff said he wanted to send you an email. Recently started listening to tech-related podcasts and found yours. I really enjoy it. Jeff, by the way, Reset, head over to Reset. Is it Reset FM? Is that where they can find .fm, Dave? Is that?
Yes, .fm, Reset.fm.
Reset.fm. You should join that, a lot like this one. And Jeff, I think you'll enjoy it. And he found this one entertaining and educational. He says, I do have a question. Do you know about a device that can alert me through an app that my mailbox has been open? I have the old-fashioned mail guard that Radio Shack used to sell. I do have good Wi-Fi coverage out there. The mail guard alerts me only inside the home. The other alternative is a Wi-Fi device that can listen for the audio sound, then contact me through email. It says, keep up the great work. Mike, you've got a solution possibly, and then Dave will come to you. What would you, if someone was going to do a mailbox sensor, what would you have them do now?
So the first one that I thought of, and I'm not 100% sure, I'm like 99% sure this will alert you when you're outside the home. But Monoprice actually makes a line of these items, and they don't require a hub, which is the great part. And so it's their Stitch line. So this is the Monoprice Wi-Fi Stitch door sensor, and we'll put the link in the show notes for him. I have him in the show notes now, and it is. I need to get.
Well, while you're looking that up, Andrew says in the chat room he recommends a small dog. His barks whenever the mail carrier.
There you go. That also works.
Low tech. You just need dog food. That's all.
So this one is $20 on Amazon right now. And like I said, the great part about this one is there's no hub, right? There's no like ecosystem you need to be a part of. Connects to Wi-Fi, to your house, to your home, and then you have the app on your phone that then you would get the alert whenever it's open. People have used these for all sorts of stuff. Actually, I found this through Linus Tech Tips. They had a really funny video where they tried to do an entire gaming setup with all Monoprice devices. I mean, the monitor, everything had to be Monoprice. And they threw in one of these for a desk sensor to see when the desk was open. They also had another one with Amazon Basics. It was pretty good. But yeah, I think this device would work for you.
Dave, you've been doing a ton of home automation. Do you have your mailbox set up for alerting, or is it still old school, come to the door?
No, you just put the flag up, even if you don't have mail. And then when you look outside and the flag's down, you've got mail.
Your mailman hates you.
No, I don't do that. No, there's a couple of ways, but both of them are defeated by metal mailboxes. You can Wi-Fi and Z-Wave or Zigbee, if you want to do contact sensors, are all defeated by metal door boxes and weather. So my biggest thing is, if you have something, a mailbox situated in the perfect position, you can always do a camera and motion. And if you have a motion, a camera where you can define motion, where it watches, and the pixels that change, you can, tighten that down just to your mailbox. And whenever there's a lot of motion in there, like pulling of the handle and down and up, you can get a notification via your cameras, and not with cars driving by. It takes a lot of work. It does take a lot of work, but I've never ever done it.
You'd think we would have found a Wi-Fi enabled mailbox by now that was all built in, right? Somebody would have. There's an idea. Is there no Wi-Fi enabled mailboxes that we've seen that
I don't have it all? That definitely would have been a Radio Shack thing, right? There's a certain crowd that might need a Wi-Fi mailbox.
Tony says Stacy Higginbotham just mentioned those. Mike, I think what you were mentioning, maybe not the greatest reviews from them on that sensor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So they do have a Samsung Smart Things arrival sensor. I'm trying to look at and see how this works.
It would be, I think that could be one of those things, Dave. So I have a plastic email box. So that may be a better setup here in the Midwest. Just a few days ago, maybe a week ago, I had 6 feet of snow piled around my email or my email box, my snail mail box out there. And you would think, I wonder how well those sensors would hold up. We're used to putting those indoors, right? Dave, do you have any idea if we took a sensor and put it in? I mean, we had some seriously cold temperatures this year. I know you guys did too. -10 with wind chills, -40 in a plastic mailbox. Would that cause issues? Do you know?
Well, they definitely have outdoor rated temperatures, where they work and not. I try everything outdoors. If I possibly can, I'll mount a camera under an eave, or if it's a throwaway camera. Now, not a several $100 Ring camera or Nest that's supposed to be indoor, but I try tons of things, and I've also tried Blink cameras outdoors. And I was just thinking, you could do. I still think the best way would be a contact sensor, but maybe if you put it on the back of your mailbox in some type of enclosure that would feel the motion, because a lot of the SmartThings sensors and a lot of other sensors have motion alerts. So if there's any type, you've seen the mailman, man, they rip open the lid and they close the lid, and it's moving. So maybe you could do it that way. Just have a motion sensor.
Put it on the back, protect it in some way. Maybe in the underneath on the back side.
Underneath, it's going to get jostled a little bit.
Jeff, Mike, anything else you want to add before?
Well, I think the one they were talking about in chat, which I just actually put the link in chat, is Mailbox Alert by MySpool. So the MySpool, the receiver's actually on the outside, and you put it on the post, and it runs a wire through the back, and it has the sensor in when the door opens. So it says it has a range of 400 feet, but you can get and that's for $50. For $130, you can get the extended range, which is 1,200 feet. So could be a possible option.
Yeah. No, I think, Jeff, you've got some options there to work with. We'd love to hear from you on what you choose, because everybody's situation's a little bit different. If you're around our community very long, you'll know. Yeah. We want to see what you did. No one size fits all. Everybody's got kind of a different environment. Some things work for some stuff doesn't work for others. Let us know. You can drop that. You can email those to me if you want, Jim@theaverageguy.tv. You can drop them in our Facebook group, theaverageguy.tv/Facebook, or go to the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. Post those pictures. We'd love to see kind of what your thoughts are and kind of what you come back with. And that's always an interesting, for some, Dave, I've been thinking, like, in the world of big packages arriving on doors, and everybody's getting stolen. We've all gone to cameras on our porches. So I have a camera that has a very bright light on it, just so everybody sees the camera, right? But I've kind of thought, I think eventually we're gonna have to build in package receiving things. Nobody's gonna let Amazon in their house. Like, Amazon's kind of done this thing where, like, oh, hey, we'll buzz the door, it'll open, we'll set it on the inside. That's not gonna work. Don't you guys think we're gonna have to come up with some kind of receptacle that they punch it, they put it in, it goes in, it comes off, and it's kind of a anti-theft device? Or am I overthinking this? Mike, am I overthinking it?
I don't know. It's if you live in an area where it's an issue, sure.
Yeah.
I don't, it could be. I just think of all different sizes of packages. There's not going to be a good solution. Amazon already tries this with their, hey, let us in, give us access to your door lock and put a camera there, right? And
that went over well.
And that did not go over well. So
in your car, that was another thing. Like, hey, we'll deliver it to your trunk. Nobody wants that. Dave, what do you think? Are we in a day we got to have some kind of device?
Well, they're trying. So this past year at CES, there was a vendor that had a box, this big, huge metal box that you'd put somewhere on your porch or, on the side of your house. And they had gizmos that they could open it and put your box in. But, just the other day, I had a gimbal, a DSLR gimbal shipped to me. And it's ginormous. It's huge. And you're not going to get it in that little box.
Yeah.
So my recommendation to people is, have you tried Amazon Locker? It is the coolest thing ever. especially when you do returns. I order a lot of Amazon and I do have a lot of returns. If you choose the return as Amazon locker, you just try it. You can take the return, go up to the locker, and they give you a 4, 5, 6 digit code for that return. You go in, you punch in that code. They say, all right, we know who you are, and we've opened door number 12 for you. Click, click. A door opens. You go, you put your box in there, and you shut it, and you bail. You're done.
Do you still need the shipping and stuff in there, or no?
They give you a special shipping label. It's still a shipping label, but it's got some different barcodes and things on it for the people at that locker. Then whoever's hired to do the locker, they just gather up all the boxes and then deliver it themselves. But if you have an Amazon locker near to you, you can also deliver to that. And that way your box is in that locker. It is safe and sound. Amazon emails you when it's there. You go there after work, you get your box, and then you go home.
Yeah, we have 3 of those in Omaha, Mike, out Midtown, Central, so 680 and the interstate, and then up near your neck of the woods, right off the interstate. But I've never thought about using a locker.
Just try it once.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah, and you can. The thing about the locker too is you can go in there and get boxes, right? Same kind of thing. Hey, it's been delivered to the locker. Here's your code to get it. You go in, and they put the box in the appropriate size locker to kind of maximize the space, right?
Right. And then they give you the secret squirrel code.
Right.
You put it in, and then click, a door opens, and you're like, which door? Oh, there it is. You go, and there's your loot. Yeah.
Although with Amazon and the returns I've been doing lately, you can print a UPS label right from them, put it on in the second the UPS store, and I have one of those just down the street here. The second they check it in, the refund is there. Boom.
Refund's there. Yeah. Well, you gotta say which one's quicker, right?
Yeah.
Like my UPS store is probably, it's in a Kroger parking lot. So, I've got to fight traffic. I've got to fight parking. This locker thing, it's on the back of a store. You park right in front of it and in, out, done.
I have to check it out. I'll have to go by. Maybe I'll head out to Uyghurs and on the way,
by one of them. Sneak
by a locker.
And the other thing for our post office guy, I want to recommend a service to you. It's from USPS, and I've been doing this, and it's called Informed Delivery. You can go out to USPS.gov. Maybe it's a .com now. I don't know, but you can sign up for Informed Delivery. Now, this is not going to tell you when it hits your mailbox, but it's going to tell you what's coming to your mailbox for that day. So you get a little bit extra granular control of your mail. And all the pieces of mail go through that system real fast, and they take pictures of it, and then they route it. Well, after you prove you are who you are and you own this house and your mail comes to this house, they will send you an email every morning with a picture of every letter that's going to show up in your mailbox that day.
Wow.
Plus any tracking for packages. And you can click on those and say, oh yeah, that's that thing I ordered, right?
Paid service or free?
This is free from USPS, from your federal government, Jim.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now, not technically, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You will have to answer some very detailed questions that only they have access to from your tax records. Like, what was the last 3 digits of the cost of your home that you bought in 2012? Something like that. Something real crazy.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't heard of that.
Informed delivery.
Yeah. No. And do you sign up? You just go to their website and sign up for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really slick.
No, super cool. Well, there's in this, it's funny. Like I thought by now I'd stop getting mail, just to be honest. I thought, like in this day and age, like who sends stuff via email? I still get plenty of snail mail. Like somebody's keeping the post office alive. Someone
Amazon. Well, I guess not anymore with the vans.
No. And Mike, are you seeing? I think Tony said he's seeing more Amazon Prime vans. Are you seeing? You're seeing a ton of vans. We see a ton down here.
I see a ton, and I would say 9 out of 10 packages now from Amazon are delivered from an Amazon van, and you can usually tell because you get that alert like, hey, you're 7 stops away. You can view the van on the map, and then you get a picture of your package. So a ton out in this neck of the woods.
Mike, you recently, and Dave, you've been doing a lot of Wi-Fi on your show, so I'm going to throw this out to Mike first. But you implemented some Wi-Fi for somebody else, which is the most dangerous thing you can do in the world. Like putting in hardware into somebody's house that they're going to call you when that stuff goes down. The smallest little blip, the perceived this thing isn't going fast enough, my Wi-Fi doesn't work. They're going to call you. I'm just going to preface it with that. So you're good with that. Talk a little bit about this implementation you put in and why.
This was a fun project. So this was someone at work came to me, and they were moving into a new house, and it's a very large house, very wide was an issue too, and a 2-story home with also a finished basement and just extremely wide. So Wi-Fi coverage was going to be interesting, and if the conversation started, I mean, he wanted smart home, he wanted security cameras, he wanted network. He's like, I just want you to do everything, just do it all.
Wait a minute. Are you installing this for Dave McCabe? Is that
right? I felt that wasn't that much pressure. So he wants the whole work. So I put together a kind of little presentation for him, talked him through it. I said, let's do this in stages, right? Let's get your network up and running. And then when you get into the house a little bit, we'll see how you use the house, and we'll see what kind of smart stuff even makes sense. Because in a house you haven't lived in yet, you're not going to know how you even use the house and what you're going to need. So we started out with just network. So that's all we have up till now. And we looked at a few different options, but I think for the size of his house and what he wanted, and Jim, to your point, I knew he was going to be calling me if something went wrong. So I needed access. I needed stats, detailed stats. I needed everything. So Unify made a lot of sense for me because I already run a Unify controller here, which thanks to I am Spartacus in the Discord group, found out I had actually installed a controller at this new home as well, but he informed me that you can actually switch that and run it off-site. So thank you to him for that advice. But eventually ended up going with Unify. So we compared Unify to the Google Wi-Fi, Mesh Wi-Fi. We looked at Eero, and we knew we were going to need some sort of mesh because with this size of home, there was just no way that one router was going to cut it. And even multiple access points, mesh just made sense. And this home did not have a lot of hard wiring in it. So in the basement, there's actually pretty good hard wiring because of the way when they went in and ran the audio system, they actually ran some Cat 6 throughout. So there's actually some decent wiring we were able to tap into, but we knew that main floor and upper floor, no wiring. So we got an estimate on the wiring because we were going to put in security cameras. We said, okay, what would it cost to run Ethernet? And the cost was going to be pretty high. So, okay, if we can avoid it, what are some other options? So we looked at mesh. And thanks to Mr. Dave McCabe, actually, I was doing some YouTubing and came across his review of the Unify new mesh units. The AC.
Right. I did a little tutorial on how to mesh them.
Yeah, you did. So I was like, well, I trust Dave McCabe, and Dave, I think you said you liked them in there for what they were. And so I was able to see the size and everything. And so what we did was we ended up going full Unify. So I was like, if I'm going to do Unify though, I want the whole ecosystem with the exception of the switches. We did not need the switches just because he was not going to run hardwired cameras, and we didn't need PoE. We didn't need smart switches. He doesn't do VLANs. He doesn't do anything like that. Just a very basic setup. So we did the USG. So the Unify USG, and then we went with 3 of the Unify AC mesh points. After going in, we may need a 4th and a 5th. We don't know. I mean, 3 is good enough for now, but there may be a 4th. We're testing it out with 3 to see what we're going to do. And I have to say the Unify setup is phenomenal. I have a Unify access point in my home, but that's all I have. I've never done anything more than just one access point. So I got it started, and with the size of my home, one actually covers everything. I live in a ranch style home in an unfinished basement. So really no need for more than that. So I just run one. So setting up the whole system was really cool. I actually, when I first went out there, I loaded Unify controller onto a Raspberry Pi, and I put the Pi in his house, and that was the controller that ran everything. And I started the planning process is really fun with Unify because when you get a controller, you can actually put the floor plan into the mapping section of the Unify controller software. You give it, so all I did was went to the county assessor website, pulled the floor plan from the address. You can get the floor plans for any of these. No, it doesn't have all the walls in. I had to draw in the walls real quick, but it takes 2 seconds in the Unify app to put in the walls, and you can start dropping these access points around, and it shows you a heat map of your coverage, especially with the walls. So you put in all the walls, where they're at and where you're thinking about putting these, and you'll start to see hot and cold spots on your map. So this was a great planning tool. I went and did this ahead of time, and it helped me out trying to figure out where these access points, these mesh access points were going to go. And the great part about doing that in the Unify app is that Unify knows the power of their access points. It generally knows what kind of output you're going to get. And when you set the scale, it does do a pretty good job of telling you it's pretty realistic. I think it's actually pretty conservative on the amount of spread you're going to get, where you're going to get good coverage. So that was my initial plan. Went in there, got the floor plan, put it in, and then actually went and did the install. And Unify could just not be any easier to install. I mean, you put these things in. These AC mesh points are great. They're these long, white, skinny tubes with 2 antennas on the top. They come out, and they have the little power bricks. You can either go PoE or you can go to the power bricks. So on all of them, I use the brick, even because the brick has LAN in as well. So even the ones that are hardwired, you can still use the brick if you don't have a PoE router. And so I have 2 hardwired ones in the basement as kind of the backbone, and then I have one up on the main level with in kind of central, and that is the mesh point for everywhere else. And that runs truly mesh. It's wireless, so its backbone is a wired connection, and got it all up and running. The install didn't take very long at all. And now my favorite part about all this, though, and like I said, thanks to Spartacus, I have since moved the controller from the Raspberry Pi that's in his home to my Unraid box where my Unify controller sits. The statistics and everything, I can manage his entire network remotely. And he can call me and he says, hey, and he mentioned this the last time I was over. He said, hey, the Apple TV is telling me sometimes my speeds are too low for the 4K content we're watching. I was like, okay, well, let me look. And I can pull it up. I can look at the device. I can look at the history. I can see the Wi-Fi strength of that specific device. I can see all the detail that I need to see remotely. And I can, tell him, okay, well, this is let me try and change some settings here if it's something like that. Or, okay, we might have to move it. Maybe we'll move that mesh point. So right now we're kind of in the testing mode where I'm letting him live with it for 2 weeks and him tell me where he's experiencing dead zones or speed reduction. But overall, the implementation was really cool. The side note to this was, since he wanted me to do everything, this home was built, I believe, in the very early 2000s or late 1990s. And what they had done, like I said, very nice home. So for the entertainment system, they have these devices, and I'm sure you guys have seen these in the past. RTI is the brand. And what it is, it's a controller that connects to your network. And then it's essentially a bunch of IR blaster ports on it, so that it's a controller where you connect via an iPad app to this RTI, and then you can create these dashboards via this computer software, and you tie them into each port so that you have an iPad interface where you're saying, okay, turn on the audio system, and it through IR blasting, it sends those signals out to everything. Now, obviously nowadays a lot of that's antiquated. We don't really need it anymore because a lot of our devices are connected and we're not using 10 different inputs. We're using one. But they had used one of those RTIs for their whole home audio. So they had speakers in every single room of the house, and it all ran down into this one central RTI unit and then a receiver box. And then since they had installed that, they had also installed a Sonos Connect so that they could get Sonos wired into the system. So it was almost, they took a system that was probably installed maybe right around the time the house was built. And then they realized, man, Sonos gives us a great interface into this. So they added that on top. But getting into that entire system, it was kind of a hodgepodge, interesting experience to go back and piecemeal what someone else has done. So it was a very interesting product. I thought I was starting from scratch, right? New house, new system, get it all going. But the way that they had everything wired in, we had to, unless we wanted to go out and get all new units for downstairs. We had to figure out how to do this. We actually ended up having to call the old guy, the old owner of the house. And we said, who'd you use to set this up? And he gave us the name of the guy. We called him. He came over. The guy, luckily, still, after all these years, had the old config file for the iPad app. And the license was still active for the account. And he said, okay, you guys got an iPad? And the guy I'm helping was like, yeah, here. He's like, okay, boom, blasted all the previous config onto it. The screen within minutes, we were set up with the old config. So now that they could use the whole home audio with their Sonos account, and it worked really well. And these RTI devices, I don't know how old this one is, but I mean, it is a awesome setup. Very cool the way that the iPad app integrates it with it. Like I said, pretty antiquated. I think nowadays, if you were starting from scratch, we would have gone with like 6 different Sonos Connects, right? Because you would have each room essentially would get its own Sonos Connect, and you would just tell Sonos which Connect you want to send the music to. I think that's nowadays. That would probably still be cheaper than this system was back in the day. It was a very complicated system. I should have taken. I think I do have some pictures. Maybe I can post out there for the people that want to see it. It was pretty interesting.
Dave, this is your bread and butter. As just Mike was talking about, like, you've done a lot of this. You've talked a lot of this.
I've been there.
Anything you'd add?
No, he's absolutely correct on the Unify network. No, but his first mistake was doing it for a friend. That's a nightmare.
And even worse, he's the executive vice president of our company. So yeah, he really does control my fate.
That is your Wi-Fi system now.
It truly is. And honestly, I'm monitoring that. It's like my new Facebook. Instead of checking Facebook, I switch over and I check his network.
I've got mine right here.
Right?
I have a full screen in front of me. I have my Unify network on this side, and over here I've got my cameras, and then my main desktop in front of me.
That's usually me too. I've got I've got security cameras up in this corner. I've got unrated in one window, and I've got Unify in the other.
I was telling my listeners on Reset FM, I don't know, a few episodes ago. So they have an equally powerful app. So you can jump on the app, jump on your Unify network or your buddies, and you can list all the controllers out there. And I was doing that, and I was looking through all of my, so it's got this real cool dashboard, and you can jump into all your clients. And I was looking through there, and I was like, you know what? My 10-year-old, his iPad is connected to the upstairs access point. I was like, that's interesting. So I thought, well, let me see what frequency he's connected at. Because sometimes an iPad can, grab an access point and never let go, right? Yeah. No matter, even if he's on the bus, it's still trying to talk to it. But I was like, wow, he's on 5G and he's got a pretty good signal going there. He's supposed to be in bed. I better go see where this iPad is. I go and I don't knock or anything. I just open the door, and all I see is that familiar glow on his face, of the iPad. Yeah. But then I was like, let me have it. He just hands it over. I said, see you in the morning. So it gives you so much control.
It does. And, I don't know, Dave, it took me so this is the first time I'd ever used the mapping feature. Because in my home, like I said, I have one, and it was very obvious where I needed to put that in my home. So this was the first time I'd used it. They hide something in the map section. So if you go to the map tab, you can actually switch from maps to topology. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, that is an amazing view where if you have multiple access points, it's a graphical way of showing what each device is connected to. Actually, I think I can show the screen. There's nothing. Well, there's some MAC addresses here. Never mind. I won't show it. But yeah, just very cool. It shows you, okay, here's your USG. It's connected to these 3 access points, and then it branches off from there what devices are connected. It gives you a very easy way of showing what's connected to what. And what it's even great for is for meshing. You can tell how the mesh points are connected back to the gateway. So, okay, hey, that living room one, is that connecting to the south basement AP or the north basement AP? And it gives you that topology. I mean, Unify could not be simpler to use, more powerful. I mean, I think I can't say for enterprise, but for the home,
this is careful there, Mike, because it's not as simple as an Eero, Linksys, and it's not as simple as those. But
you don't think so?
To your brain and your mind, it is very top down. It's like, all right, I've got to do this, 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 and this, and I've got it done. The other access points are like, get your phone out, connect it, and then jump on the Wi-Fi. You're done. Congratulations.
True.
They give you this big high-fi in the app. Like, you're done. Yay. Go make, s'mores and kumbaya. And Unify is not that. It is networking equipment, right?
Very true.
You do have to make some extra clicks. You do have to go in and tell it. If you want it to be a mesh, you got to go tell it to be a mesh. So
have you done an implementation or an install, I guess, using just the app? Because I know that's possible, but I've never done it. Because I know you don't need a controller. If you just want to set
it's
up,
only
you can
on.
use the app.
I think it's only on that certain access point. I think
you can't do a full network setup just on the app. Okay.
They're trying. I mean, this is a company that is trying to be more consumer focused, and you will soon see they've got a new piece of gear called the Unified Dream Machine, and it is an all-in-one. It actually looks like an Apple. What's that HomePod thing that they've got? It looks like that, and it's got everything built into it. Voice commands, Wi-Fi, everything, and they're trying. But this gear is still. It's still almost business. I mean, anything that mounts in the ceiling is not home gear. Not everybody can do that.
Kind of enterprise focused, right?
Yeah. And I really don't want to say enterprise and scare people, because you can put this in your house.
Right.
I've got all these access points in my house, and not a single one of them is mounted in the ceiling. So, and
you don't have any mounted to the ceiling?
Zero, none.
Okay.
I was saying on my podcast, I was like, how am I going to get this ceiling mount device? So it's on, I have this main like bookcase area in my great room, and I found a clear plastic box from one of those foofy stores, right?
Didn't you say it was like, wasn't it like a CD?
Yeah. And
like it was shaped like a CD carrier.
When you buy a spindle of DVDs and it comes with that clear plastic covering, you twist it. So I turned that upside down, and I have the access points sitting in that because it's concave. And so it kind of, you can't see the clear plastic from the other room.
Right.
You just see the access point there floating. Yeah. And that's just to get it off the wood so it has, space to spread its wings and propagate the signal.
Yeah.
But the access point that Mike is talking about that's an $80 access point. And
I was going to talk about the price. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, go for it.
It comes with 2 omnidirectional antennas. Bend them down, and that thing has got crazy range. Now, the cool thing is you can invest a little bit more, and you can put on a flat panel on that device, and it'll click to it, put a flat panel on it, and you can use it for a point-to-point. Say you've got an outbuilding somewhere, you can use it as a point-to-point. It's amazing, amazing gear. Now, that piece of gear itself, you can designate as a mesh. And what is really cool is I've got this pool house, right? And it's got a Cat 6 run from my house, and I've got a switch out there. But this winter was crazy, and so sometimes it knocked that switch or that Cat 5 run offline. I don't know why, but I think it was actually the switch. So whenever that switch would go offline, this access point would mesh in to the next one it could see, and I would never lose connectivity out to my Ring spotlights. So it's very, very powerful gear, and that's an $80 access point.
That's what got me is I was looking at some of the bigger items, and sometimes these little ones actually are way better for these homes because those bigger ones are good. But I mean, you can get almost 2 or 3 of these for the price of one of their larger access points. And they, like you said, the range is just insane on these things.
Yeah. And if I'm correct, It's 802.11 AC. I believe that's a 2x2.
It is only 2x2.
Mimo, however you want to pronounce it. But you say just, but at least it is. There's a lot of devices getting put in houses that aren't.
Right.
It's just they talk to one device at a time, you know? So, and this, yeah, it's a fantastic system. And the software is free, and you can run that software. You can run it in the cloud. You can run it on Google's cloud. You can run it on a Synology access point. You can run it in a Docker container. You can run it on Windows. You can run it on Mac. You can run it on Raspberry Pi. There's no shortage of places that you can run that. And the cool thing is you get app access via what I showed you, but you also get highly granular access on PC level, like via a browser. You go into your web browser and you connect to it, and you can set up all these different parameters and do all of these different things. There was a specific instance that I shared on Reset. You guys know the first generation Wise, actually all the Wise cameras, those lovely $20 little cameras. One of the bugs in those cameras is they will not connect to a mesh network. They see multiple SSIDs and they shut down. They say no. Well, I decided, I can fix this via Unify. Let me figure out how. Well, I figured out that I could add a brand new SSID just for this camera, and I could broadcast that SSID out of only one access point. And I could also set the power of that radio on that access point, which, like Mike, you were talking about, you can set it to auto and it really figures out how it will balance the power. But you can also go in there and you can turn down the power of radios and to, medium or low, and you can actually experience your network improve because you're not having all of this yelling going on, right?
Right.
And so now my one little Wise camera and a troublesome Ring doorbell all talk to this one SSID off of an access point. Only one access point. They will not jump around. So if you have that problem device that you log in, you're like, why is that camera not working? You log in, you check your access point, and it's like, wow, it's connected to the farthest access point away. Well, that's the first one it saw, right? It just happened to catch a packet. Oh, there's that SSID. I'll jump on it. But that's not the one you want. So you can shape and say, no, you're going to connect right here and only to this SSID. And it's a beautiful thing. And I'll tell you that I have had this. How long have I had this? I got it right after CES, because I went to Vegas and I thought, I'm going to find the next miracle Wi-Fi system. And I went out there. I found one that I was interested in, just one. And I came back and I said, no, that's it. I boxed up all of my Eros. I had 7 or 8 Eros all around my house, boxed them up and sold them, and invested in this Ubiquiti Unify network. And I couldn't be happier.
Wow. Mike, would you do it again?
100%. I mean, I want to do it at my house. So,
I thought you had it at your house. Oh,
no, you have the one.
I have the one access point. Yeah, I have one AC Pro.
AC Pro, and that's the granddaddy ceiling mount 802.11 AC 4x4.
It is 4x4
MIMO. Yep. And you were saying earlier, this guy's moving into a new house, and you don't know a new house until you get into it. Yep. You don't know connectivity until you're in your manly throne room, playing Clash of Clans, and you're disconnected from a battle and you lose. You don't know until something like that happens, right?
Right.
You do have to experience it, and it's phenomenal. It's just a phenomenal system.
That's super cool. I think Dave, you've been on Reset. You've been talking a ton about all these different, now lately, this idea of mesh has become a way more popular. Like the average guy is starting to get mesh. 3 years ago, like what? What is that? I don't understand that. Today, when I talk to kind of the average guy, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna set up a mesh network in my house or whatever to get, especially in the bigger square foot areas, right? If you got a big home. And so I've kind of followed you along on this. I'm in a pretty small place here, and so we can get by with just kind of one access point. Mike, you have a little more square footage. You're going to probably be in a point where you might want to blow that out, right? Are you thinking you might pick up a couple extenders for that?
These little units are $80, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I got one of those or two of those and put one over near the bedroom and one down the basement, total. I mean, three. They asked what the square footage was, so 7,800 square feet, and three of them covered it.
Wow.
I mean, that's the range, and that's two of those being on one floor. That means one is covering pretty much like 2,900 square feet on its own.
Yeah.
And no issues. So I guess sometimes they are connecting to the basement ones because the floor, I mean, they can go right through the basement.
Right.
But
Dave, is that your recommendation too? If someone's putting in mesh Ubiquity, you go on with the Unify?
Well, we have to be really careful. I mean, we have to be really careful when we recommend this product, because I do feel like it has more setup than just Bluetoothing in with your phone.
Right.
And these guys, if you go out to their site, they do call it Unify Mesh. But when you open up their software and the controller software, it is not all about like mesh. And like I said, the Eero and the other guys, Kumbaya, we're going to talk to this one. Make sure you set it so it can talk to this one. And it's not going to hold your hand and just say mesh every other keyword. These are access points that work together, and their system will set it up to either raise the power or lower the power, right? And then you can do things around that to make it more friendly to your house, like I did with my troublesome Ring doorbell. So, I mean, I want to tread carefully for those folks considering it. If you're not superbly network aware, because you can get in there and you can buy their router, right? Well, their router is about 80% command line, 20% GUI. So you got to be careful. And then you get into PoE, and then you get into different levels of PoE. Now, most of them come with a brick. But if people are powering with the brick all over their house, it could be unwieldy, it could be ugly, and it is definitely not backed up power unless you're plugging it into a UPS at every different, station in your house. So you do have to be careful.
Well, some good things to think about, Mike. Thanks for that overview on that as we kind of bring this in for a landing on a long show. When we do these things, yeah, I know. Well, it's been an hour 20, Dave.
Oh, let's go some more.
Well, we will do some more in the post show. We're going to catch up with Dave a little bit. A year ago or so, we had Dave on. We talked a little bit about crypto. John Biggs sent me a note. He's like, well, I guess it's time that the crypto shows end, because Mike, you and I did, 15 minutes of crypto last week, and I think we made up half of it.
Yeah, right.
It was kind of like, well, what's there to talk about? But tonight, Dave completely burned down his crypto. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and why, and get that story from him. So that'll make the post show crypto stuff that we'll do. So Dave, don't run anywhere. We got some crypto to do with you. But Dave, thanks for coming on tonight. It's always great to have you on here. Thanks for a couple times a year you say yes to jumping over here. I know it takes a little bit of time to get that done, but thanks for coming. You're if you haven't subscribed, reset.fm is the way to do it. Get it, just go listen to it. You're gonna want to subscribe to it. It's every 3 weeks or so, I think is what Dave said, and he's right. It's about every 3 weeks.
I try to do it every 2, but sometimes it comes out 3 or 4.
It's good. It's good. It shows up those weeks. I always I see it in my feed, and I save it for the weekend. And it's when I'm driving around on the weekend, you're in the car with me, and Always good to, that's kind of when I'm working on projects. Reset is always about, you've been covering a lot on the mesh, but you've also been talking a lot about home automation and the Ring doorbells and all these things that you're doing with it. And I think super helpful, especially when you're working on the weekend. Super expensive if you're not careful. So Let me give you a warning about Reset. So if you're gonna, don't listen to that unless you're thinking you might spend some money. So
it's all good. We make sure you spend the right money and put it in the right spot.
Right. No, some good stuff. So good. Mike, thanks for sharing that story. Anything else, Mike, before I wrap it?
No, next phase is just going to be, at some point we're going to do security cameras. The only issue is we're trying to decide, do you go full wireless, which is not what I like to do. Preferably we would go unify. So then we got to figure out, okay, are we going to run some hardwire, those sort of considerations. And then the next thing will be smart home. They have a bunch of Alexa devices. So for right now, they're okay. Sorry, I just activated everyone's home devices as mine goes off in the corner. So that'll be the next step. And then talking about lighting, it'll be interesting though, Jim, when it comes to the lights, in my home, since I've been doing this for so long, back in the day, we just started out with the Philips Hue. So I have stuck with Philips Hue bulbs, but in his house, I think we're going to do a lot more of the switches, the smart wall switches. So actually be able to control full chandeliers and the kitchen lighting all through the wall switches. So we're going to do some testing, read through some reviews and see which ones work the best.
Awesome. For guys like Jeff, if you're just joining the community, we've talked about Reset at .fm if you want to go get subscribed to that. Also, we mentioned a lot on home automation. You might want to listen to Richard Gunther over there at Home On, and Richard and Josh do Entertainment 2.0, which has been, they focus primarily on entertainment stuff, but they've been talking a lot of gaming and some home automation in there as well. It's all kind of blending together. We have trouble kind of keeping all those things separate from each other. Dave, it's been really fun tonight as Mike's been talking about these things to watch the expression on your face as like, yes, I have done this. And I know I listened to you for a lot of years, and it's just fun to watch that in your eyes is like, oh my gosh, I've been through that.
It's a fun, I don't want to say job, but it's fun to be able to be in this position where folks will send you gear and you can put it in your house and try it out. It's great. And then you buy the stuff you want to buy. And sometimes I get frustrated and I can't get a piece of gear sent to me and I'll just buy it. And, that's just what we do.
That's what we do. No, it's what we do indeed. Well, a couple reminders. Don't forget, if you're listening to the live show, don't go anywhere. If you got a few minutes, we're going to hear how Dave burned down his crypto. And that's going to
blow your mind.
It's going to be super awesome.
Not want to go anywhere.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with crypto. It's going to be, it does because it's crypto, but it's not what you think. So stay around for that if you're listening live. If you're listening to the recorded version of this and you're like, where do I get this crypto goodness? Again, this is just going to be a great story from Dave. So you want to head out to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. It's free and available for you out there. You can support us out there if you want. You don't have to. We just make it available to you. We have $1 and $5 plans. Thanks to those that do support us. That helps kind of pay the bills on the app and some review stuff that we do here and buy hard drives for some of the stuff that we do. So appreciate you guys that are supporting us. Again, theaverageguy.tv/Patreon gets you there as well. Don't forget to join the Discord group, theaverageguy.tv/Discord. You want to send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. I always love your emails. So send them to me. Jeff, thank you tonight. He came out and joined us. First time listener on the live show. And if you haven't joined us for a live show, maybe you should do that. Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, theaverageguy.tv/live. We'd love to have you. We got, 15, maybe 10, 15 guys and gals. Emily joined us tonight. I saw her jump in there. So Emily, thank you for taking the time. We're obviously keeping you occupied while you're doing something. And so, Emily, thanks for jumping in. We'd love to have you join us live. Don't forget the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. You know that's Christian. And he's doing some great work out of Buffalo there. And we appreciate his support of the show. His plans, hosting, and everything start as little as $10 a month. So if you're thinking about doing some kind of setup, he is podcasting and WordPress expert, like secure, lockdown. There's nobody locked down more than Christian. So head out to maplegrovepartners.com. Let him know. and he can get that set up for you. Don't forget to get the app downloaded, theaverageguy.tv. No. HomeGadgetGeeks.com is what you want to go there. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv live. Stay around for some post-show crypto. Again, I can't wait to hear the story from Dave burning down his crypto rigs. With that, we'll say goodnight, everybody. All right, if you caught this, if you're here, you've joined the post-show. Congratulations, you made it onto Patreon, and which is almost impossible for many people to do. I don't know why, but you made it on.
I love this part, Jim. I go straight to it every week. Don't stop doing it.
No, I think we're gonna keep trying. There hasn't been actually there has been some good stories with it, but Dave, thanks for saying that. It doesn't get great numbers. We keep doing it. Some folks asked. I said a couple weeks ago, maybe we should stop, and I got a few emails. No, don't stop. Keep doing it. So.
It's. I know I've been podcasting for years. It's that 20, 25 people. Yeah. It's that handful of people that just love it. Yeah. I mean, if you did it once a night, they would tune into it, right?
Not enough to talk about, but yes, they would. Dave, last time, 2 years ago, we were at Meetup at Home Service Show headquarters there in Indianapolis. And I got you, long story, we've talked about this before. I got you in with one 1060 card and video card, and you began, and then you joined the burst groups with us as we started throwing hard drives. I was like, yeah, you should try this burst thing. It's hard drive mining. And then we were all building rigs and throwing as many hard drives as we could at this thing and burst mining. And it's all kind of busted. And so for a while, I didn't hear from you on any, the three of us talked almost every day.
Oh my God, that was so fun.
Oh yeah, that was a blast. Those are the good old days.
The awesome miner you guys got me on, and you guys got me down the rabbit hole of just, I almost didn't make it out. I really almost didn't make it out.
So how deep did you go down this rabbit hole?
You say the first story like it was just so blasé type. I just did this and we put a card in. It's no big deal. But we sat in my floor. Now, granted, we took a box that we shouldn't have got because it had hard drives in it and it was trying to load drivers and it was a pain in the butt. Yeah. But we got it running. We got it on what's the little Bitcoin miner? The one that got hacked. I don't even remember.
Oh, no, Nice Hash.
Nice Hash. We got it on that. And I'm sitting in the floor thinking, this is the hardest crap I've ever seen in my life. How did Collison figure this out? This is difficult. And so you leave. Before the plane hits the ground in Omaha, I've got 17 more cards. No. That's what it feels like.
Almost. We stayed up super late. Like I had to leave at 4 a.m. to get to the airport.
And I'm like, oh no. But what if I do this? What if we can we optimize this? What if we?
It was 12:30, and I'm like, we got to get to bed. I got to be up in 3 hours to get back to Omaha.
Right. Yeah. So I remember that was a great stretch of time because I got more cards and I got into mining. I see all the lingo has left me, Jim, but I got into mining electronium and that type of mineable coin. And there were several of them. There was KRB and all these different coins. Monero was one, right?
Yep.
I set it all up and I'm like, oh my God, I've got to go to CES. And I'm going to be away from my rigs. Because, sometimes they're not the most stable, right? They're not the most stable devices.
No. Miners don't ever stay up very long. They close
researching robotic push button devices for powering switches, and it's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I had my mother-in-law going down to the basement. I'm like, okay, you see that big ugly thing on the left with all the wires hanging out of it? I'm like, yeah, we need to turn that off and back on.
Well, and to be fair, today we think about it, if you just got any crypto, there's no value in this anymore. But in that day when we were doing this kind of stuff, you could make okay coin. I mean, it wasn't nothing you're going to retire on.
It was wildly valuable.
But it was valuable at the time.
We're talking the era from $3,000 to $19,000 of Bitcoin, of BTC.
Yeah.
Anything you mined was either speculative to make money or you were making money, right? It paid you back, and it paid you back very well. So it was a fun, exciting time.
Yeah, no, it was, and we were all, like I said, we were buying, we've chronicled this here on this show, Mike and I, about, we were buying stuff, and, so, we would talk daily. Hey, you got to get some Tron, or you got to get some.
Oh, see, that's what killed me.
You guys aren't going to let me live that one down, are you?
No, listen, it was a good call, Mike. I like that. Listen, there's plenty of other things that I bought. Tron is just the good one because it sounds great, right?
Yeah,
it just sounds great.
Right.
Listen, I don't, in this crypto world.
That one's still going to the moon, by the way. Hold on.
I don't, hold on. I don't blame anybody for anything. Like, this is just such a crazy world, and miners going offline for a day or two or whatever, or losing money on whatever. This is just so much fun to do as we were all sharing these things. I mean, there was probably 4 or 5 coins that we all bought together, and they're worthless. And now I still have them, by the way. I still have every single coin we bought. I have not cleared anything out, not because I think it's going to go somewhere, but it was just, it's fun to hold on to it and keep track of it and see what's going on in the communities and, some of those kind of things. All right. So Dave, you built some things out. We did some trading. You stayed around for a little bit, but I remember I saw a post from you. Maybe it was on Twitter. I can't remember where I saw it, but you were like, you tapped out. You were like, I am out. And you kind of tore things down. Talk about that.
It was very, Jim, and I do pride myself on the in and out, right? And I targeted a date and some pricing that I needed to get out. It was consuming me. And I'll get you to that point. But to get to that point, I was buying cards. And I was scraping Nextdoor, Facebook, and Craigslist. Craigslist less than most. I rarely go to Craigslist anymore. But I was scraping. I remember one day in the car texting you guys saying, I've got an RX 580 and I'm getting it for 200, and I've already got a guy that wants to buy it for 400.
Yeah.
It was addictive.
Well, you made more money, I think, on hardware than you ever made on crypto.
I did. I did.
Yeah.
So what I got into doing,
I think I did too. Well, actually, I made out like a bandit with both, but
yeah.
I did it purposefully. I would go out into my garage and I would craft this beautiful case out of wood, and I would spray paint it and just make it beautiful, give it accents, and load the motherboard on it. These open air frames, I thought it was the coolest build ever.
Yeah.
It was so cool. I would dual power supply on each side. You know how you do the risers, you do the PCIe risers. You got to find the perfect motherboard and the perfect set of BIOS and drivers and the things you could do to Windows 10 to make this thing purr was amazing. I mean, you don't have to buy Windows 10. You just install it. And then you shut everything off. Everything. Defender, everything that's going to stop or reboot or do anything to your miner gets massaged out of that OS until it's just this beautiful shell of just run the NVIDIA driver. That's all you need to do. Don't even think. Don't even try to give me any freaking MSN. No. Just run the driver. And you would get 6 cards in it, and you're like, I think I can make 7. I think I can get 7 in it. You shut it down, and it's this moment where you're like, oh my God, I'm not mining. I've got to get this card. Okay, 7th card, riser. You're careful. You don't bump risers ever. You don't bump them because the card will shut down. And then you're like, okay, 7th card, you turn it on. You go into the device driver list. There's 4 cards, and you're like, no. And you're like, you massage them, and it's this
It's like the Nintendo where you're like,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this beautiful hardware dance when you've got 7 cards running or 8. I had a system where I had 6 PCIe cards running, and I had M.2 SATA ports with an M.2 card that would hold a riser, and then you run a card out of that, and that card would mine as well. It's a beautiful thing. And I got to the point where I'm trolling for hardware to purchase, and I see, usually you see an FS for sale, and I saw a W mining rig. I'm like, I got mining rigs. Wow. People want to buy this. People not only wanted to buy it, but they wanted your expertise, right? I've spent hour upon hour upon hour figuring out the best methods, the best pools, the best configuration. Miners, like when you guys showed me Awesome Miner, that was the rabbit hole that I couldn't recover from, because Awesome Miner, as general and as cool as it was, there were better ways to do it, because Awesome Miner simply called other miners to work inside the GUI. And I'm like, well, if it's calling those miners, I can just go straight to the source and grab those miners. And it's text config hell to get these things going. But you could, if you get an extra 100 hash per card, that's 600 hash per second extra on your rig for a 6-card rig. It's every little.
And in those days, it still kind of mattered. You could.
That was money. Again,
yeah,
that was money.
Yeah, yeah. So we're talking. This is like not. This is probably February or March of last year. I think we're a year separated from that.
Yes.
I think. Yeah, we were doing. It was still kind of. It was on its way down, but there were still some things going on. Of course, Uyghur, who's Mr. Get In and Get Out before he gets out before all of us are getting in. He comes in and he drops this stuff, and then so then I go buy it, and the next week I come back, he's like, "Oh yeah, I sold all that stuff." I'm like, Uyghur, what are you doing? Jeez. So Dave, you're is that right, Mike? That's right.
That's 100% true.
Yeah.
I almost to the point where at the end of all this, Jim, I actually have felt bad for some of the listeners and, for Dave and people that we got into this. And then I felt like I was out right as everyone was getting in after they had listened to us talk about it. I was already out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've talked about this real quick. Yeah. I had a reason. My crypto had always been set up. All of last year was we had a kid arriving at the end of December, and this was going to be a little extra funds that I was going to sell the day that kid was born, and it was going to be just to help cover while Hannah was on maternity leave, right? It was just going to be an extra cash just to help out during that time. That, and me sticking to that, I sold on December 29th when our son was born. If you go back and look at the prices right around there,
absolute top.
Oh, yeah, pretty much right at the top. And then the hardware, though, people were still buying hardware. I mined with those cards for almost a year and doubled what I paid for them after running them for that long on every card. I made out like a bandit. It was absolutely insanity.
No, you're
but
good.
It was because I had set a date like that.
Yeah, and you're fast. And Dave knows this. My problem is I wait too long, and then I pull the trigger too late, and then I hold it too long. Dave, you also are pretty good. Uyghurs, nobody's faster than Uyghur. Dude, you are the fastest man on the planet. You were done and out, and Dave was selling, and I was holding. This is Larry, Curly, and Mo, and I am Mo stuck with the,
No, Uyghur had a plan. You have to have an exit plan.
Yeah.
He's been to business school. He's been to lawyer in school. He knows what an exit plan is, right?
He's good at it.
Gotta have it.
Yeah, he's good at it too. I need to pay more attention.
In crypto, it's easy to say, well, let's just hold it a little while longer.
Yeah.
It's very easy to say that. But I got into the hobby of buying and selling. So I got the rush of finding the gear and making it mine and selling it. So I did a lot of selling. I would list it on these forums and say, I've got this mining rig. Here's the hash rate. Here's what it'll make. Here's where I'm mining. I can sell you this equipment plus my expertise on how it is running at its peak right now. It is X amount of dollars. And that X amount of dollars was thousands of dollars. Yeah, I'm buying for hundreds of dollars and I'm selling for thousands of dollars. And I too almost feel a little guilty because I can't control the market, but the market did start trailing down. And someone that doesn't know what they're doing can't keep up with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fortunate enough to get out of those rigs in time. And what I started getting into, so I've absolved myself of hardware.
No.
I
Just
do
about March,
have
April timeframe, I think, for you, right?
I do have my gaming card.
Yep.
And which is an RX 550, a little Radeon card that I just absolutely love. I thought, I'm going to keep this one little card. That's it. And I did have a card, a gigabyte, I don't even know what, GTX 1070 that thinks it's a 1060.
Yeah.
This is what I got off of Amazon.
Yeah.
I bought one of those Amazon return pallets. And I got it so cheap. I mean, so cheap. There were two 1070s on there. One 1070 plugged in and worked like a jewel. Sold it immediately, made back all the money for the entire pallet. And the one that thinks it's a 1060, I can't sell it.
Yeah.
I tried to get the manufacturer to help me, and they would have nothing of it. They knew the serial number.
Yeah.
So they were not.
Yeah.
I'm like,
no, they knew somebody had done something to it.
I ate this card.
Yeah.
So it still works. It works great.
Well, hey, a 1060 is a good card.
Great card.
I have 4 1060s here still because I hold on to everything. I never can sell it.
1070 chip with 6 gigs of RAM on there.
Yeah.
And it thinks it's a 1060 with 3 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
And that's the most painful thing ever.
Yeah, that is
so
painful.
I just take it. It's sitting on a shelf.
Yeah.
How much do you want for it? I need a GPU for my Unraid box to do Plex transcoding.
That might be a good card.
Right? Just enough to give it a little bit of a juice for that for Plex transcoding.
Absolutely.
There you go.
So I'm absolved myself of hardware.
But you had been burst mining with us too, right? Behind the scenes.
I got in on the burst because I was thinking, I've got all these hard drives laying around.
Yeah, we're all server guys.
Collison, I'll do the burst thing. Again, I was like, this is the hardest crap in the world.
Yeah.
How do you make this go? You guys got me up and running. I'm bursting like crazy. I'm making all this burst. And of course, it's bubble. Bursted.
Yeah.
So I let it run for the longest time, Jim. I'm like, Jim's put $1,000 into this thing.
I did. Yeah, I put a lot into it.
Bucks into it.
Yeah.
So I bought a couple external drives and I'm bursting, and it threw an error out. And I was just like, you know what? It's not worth it. I did the research. I'm like, it's going to take X to get me out of this and get back into the burst doing this. I'm like, it is not worth it. I just turned it off. I didn't even touch the gear. The gear sat there for probably 2-3 months. Just turned it off. Now it's all distributed through the house now.
Yeah.
All those externals. I've got one behind the computer here, just doing a backup. One's hanging off a NAS, doing a backup. It's all back into home servers, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I loved about burst, and I knew that when this day ended, and we knew it would end, that like we never get sick of hard drive space. Uyghur, you built an Unraid box out of this, right? Out of your burst stuff?
No, I ended up selling them.
Okay. Oh,
and bought different drives.
Look at you. So you should have held
money on those too. Because I got the deal on those 8 terabytes, and someone bought them for pretty much the full price.
Uyghur, I need to have you broker. I need to broker everything just through you.
We've talked about this, Jim.
I know.
And I said I'm totally down to do that.
I know. I need to do a better job. I just hold on to things too long. So Dave, you started distributing stuff.
Because I talked about it on my podcast. I think you came on.
We did. We did a whole burst. That would have been
at least we are talking you into burst because you've got hard drives sitting around,
right?
And B, if this thing goes bad, you've still got hard drives sitting around.
You're
good,
which hold value pretty well. Like that we're not in a space those 8 terabyte drives have been $150 forever. Yeah. And now they're down to like 130. Yeah, and you can sell them on the open market for $100. Yep. So, I sold a bunch at $100 to a bunch of listeners and said, hey, if you want to drive for 100, I just want to get rid of these. So it's a pretty safe bet, right?
I had zero expectation of burst.
Yeah.
And here, you know what I did with my burst? Nothing.
You still have it in a wallet? Do you still have the key?
I don't even know where it's at, Jim. I don't care.
Man. You should care because you could give it to your best friend in podcasting.
That is how much I have distanced myself from this.
Makes me sad.
I must have a wallet somewhere. I'll just give you the keys, Jim.
Okay.
Let you have the burst.
You can just send it to me on Discord.
Okay, so I told you I was going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was just completely, just blatantly honest with everybody, and it pains me to say it, but I do think it has seen its day, and it is nothing but trouble from here on out. I would not put a single red cent into a cryptocurrency from here on out, ever. I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah. No, I think it's good advice for most people.
That is going to be my advice going forward. Now, the conundrum I got myself into was someone talked me into some Tron. I've got some Tron, and it's not worth a damn cent now, right?
It's actually held its value okay.
Okay.
But 3 cents.
Then we're like, wow, hey, I heard about this new coin. How about this Cardano? Or how about this other coin, this Raven coin? Whatever it was. That's what we did in December and January. We're like, this one sounds good. Okay, $50. Boom. $50 here, $50 there, 50. All right. I got to figure out how am I going to manage this stuff? So I instantly turned into that guy that sits behind the 14 monitors and he's trading. I became a cryptocurrency day trader, and I have got the monitor. I would sit right here and have all of these monitors open. I'm tapped into all of these Discord groups, all of these trading groups for signals, and I'm watching trend. I'm reading news, and I'm using a piece of software called Profit Trailer. And what you do is it's a trading bot, Jim. It reads the markets. You train it. You tell it if coin A does this and then recorrects and then does this or something, you buy here. And then when it goes up, when it gets to 2% or 3% profit, sell it. Boom. Right there. Done. And you train your bot to do that. And I got into that spring and summer of last year. And it was a crazy year. I mean, couple of months, I was tied to my phone constantly. I had alerts anytime a coin would move, but on a certain threshold, I was like, oh yeah, I hope my buy order went in. I was buying and selling just nonstop 24/7. When the Asian markets hit, sometimes I'm laying in bed at 2 a.m. thinking, man, I hope those Asian markets are pushing up my Cardano or my Monero, It was crazy. But
man, you're not joking. Like you were in deep.
Yeah. Well, what it allowed me
how deep
it allowed me to take that little $50 deposit from December and dollar cost average that thing down, buy it and buy it and buy it down. And then when it took those little reverses, sell off a chunk, let it go down, dollar cost average. It would reverse back up. You guys saw it. It eventually went down to the bottom, but it had these wild rides back up, right? Wild rides back up, and then it would tank. Those wild rides are what you have to jump on that wave. And with the help of software, dollar cost average every single purchase you have. until you are no longer losing money, but making money. And that was the key to getting out of all of these purchases I had put in way back in the day.
Yeah. So did you feel like at the end, so when did you stop doing, that's kind of the day trading thing, right? That you were doing. We wouldn't call it day trading anymore because you can trade all, 24 hours a day.
Right.
But there was when did you decide, like, what was
I've done what I can do, right? I've got it to where I can get it, and now the market is in control. I had several coins left, and I had
like Tron.
I was on Binance before. Yeah, like my Tron. No, I got out of my Tron quick. I was in and out of Tron.
Oh, I still have some Tron.
Oh, I was in.
I have all my Tron.
By the way, 2 cents, 2.5 cents. Like, I think
it was at 15 cents when we bought it.
Listen, Saya right now is 0.3 of a cent, and Burst is 0.4 of a cent.
Yeah.
So, like, hey, that makes Tron sound pretty good. Keep going, Dave.
Yeah, what was I saying? So I had a point where I was just like, I've done what I can do.
Right.
And now the markets are in control. I had a few coins left. The problem is, in order to do all of this, you need Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
The market rises and falls with Bitcoin, and you can only trade with Bitcoin. So the point was, where do I get in and out with that? And then that became my last point of exiting the market completely and getting rid of the Bitcoin on the highs and the lows. And then finally got out of the Bitcoin, and I'm like, wow, there we go. And Jim, I just literally started deleting tabs, bookmarks, links, folder after folder after folder of notes and config files and keys and wallets. And the time it takes to, set up the software, figure it out, make sure it's safe, make sure it's clean, install the wallet, mine, transfer. It was so time consuming. You're trying to figure out how much money you have in Burst. I've got like $36. I don't know how much you got.
Hold on.
It's not a lot.
I was just there. Yeah, no, it's not. And I've been monkeying around with my Burst miners, so I haven't been adding. I have not been adding. Let me look. $135 in Burst. Probably to this point.
Dang.
35,000. That's 35,000 coin. I mean, and that's actually, it's probably a little bit higher because I still continue to mine it. Why not? I got these drives. It's been a ton of fun.
That is the typical attitude of a miner. Why not?
Why not? I got 70 terabytes here now.
Mining. Maybe someday that coin will go up.
No, I don't even think it will. Think about this. This is the crazy thing, right? This is the crazy thing. When we were doing Home Server Show back in the day, 2 terabytes was huge. Like, I never in a million years, 4 would have been the most I would have ever needed and would have ever bought to do something like this. So to throw 70 terabytes at something and go, yeah, I got 70 terabytes in the house. You're kind of like, that's the dumbest thing ever. Like, just for that, I sold off a bunch of my external drives and have been buying 4 terabyte drives because I know I can reuse those again for stuff here. And so I've been kind of just changing those over as I've been doing it. But yeah, Dave, it's kind of one of those things. I'm like, well, I got it. I might as well keep, I've been working on BHD. It's a derivative of Burst. And so there's been some interesting things there. Right. And so I think there's a third one that's going to be coming out based on Burst when we think about, the POCC did some shenanigans with BHD. This is the best part. It's like a soap opera, right? The POCC did some shenanigans with BHD and didn't tell, they were mining in pools and didn't tell people. Everybody got mad. So they kicked them out. Now they're going to do their own thing because that's what's great about crypto, right? They can just go do their own thing. And so one may be appearing, shortly. So
the thing I learned is we peons are way down here on the food chain. We will never be able to dictate markets. And make the money that was made back in the day. It'll never happen.
I don't know if that's totally true, Dave. Never. I think there are still a few coins out there that have some potential for some micro moves.
I'm going to throw it out there and say never. I think it is pissing away your money and pissing away your time.
Yeah.
You would be better served taking those drives out. And I say it friend to friend.
Yeah, no, right on.
But I think you should move on. You still got the coin. If it goes up, it goes up.
Did you and Uyghur play in this? Is this an intervention?
No, this is
I didn't, but I'm very happy about it. So,
but I think, yeah.
So great.
Jim, I'm telling you this. Why? Because I got into.
Because we're your friends. We care about you, Jim.
Care, Jim.
Yikes! Wow.
Yeah. I got into some really crazy stuff. I got into some Discord and some Telegram groups that only reporters wanted to get into. I don't know how I got into these groups.
Pumping up stuff?
I'm never going to say those two words. But I got into some seedy crap where we did do some organized purchasing of some crypto coins, and it was amazing to watch these networks work. And you could, Jim, I got into a group of guys spread all over the world, and we would meet at certain times and watch markets, literally second by second, watching trades. And I don't know if you've ever used trading software before, but when you learn it, it is an amazing machine how trading happens, right? But you learn what's pushing it, and when all these orders come in, and when somebody puts up these block sells and they're trying to block everything and manipulate markets, and that's all it's happening. Yeah. It's this huge manipulation, and it's actually really fascinating to follow. But what we would do is we would watch history of markets compared to this day, where we thought a group was going to make a large organized purchase, right? When they make this large organized purchase, they make a very large, well, I'm not going to say large or organized sell, but a couple of the people in the organized purchase will make a sell when it gets way up here in its price. And the rest of the 90% of the people that did the organized purchase would be left flailing about trying to sell off their coin at the end. Now, you mentioned a couple of keywords, which you could apply that to this organized purchase, but the key...
I just pictured in a few years, like Dave's talking to his kids about drugs, and Dave's like, I've seen some shit. You guys don't even know the places I've been on the internet.
I've been to the Philippines and Thailand, Sean. Just sit down. I'm about to school you. But the key was gathering some very smart individuals, following the markets, and knowing where these groups are going to hit, because they like to hit certain traded coins. They like to hit a certain valued coin, and there's only a handful of them. And I say handful, a couple of hundred. And you watch and you see a couple of coins just amping up and up and up. And there's these buy orders and buy orders and buy orders. You're like, this is different. This is not like the past 3 weeks of this coin right here. Mm-hmm. This is the one. This is the one. Now, if you have the cojones to throw your Bitcoin down and put it right there at that time frame, Jim, you have a split second to decide. If you think you have made the right decision and it's right here, and you're like, that's it, I'm going in, bam. Yeah. And then you just watch it, bam, 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 bam. And then all of a sudden it goes, phew, it just skyrockets. And you're like, I did it. I did it. And then what do you do right then? Sell. I didn't participate. I didn't scheme. I didn't connive. I didn't cheat. I didn't lie. I just looked at the candles.
Yeah.
The candles tell you everything.
Yeah.
So I got into some seedy crap, but I got myself out. And I was fortunate enough where I had time to just crash learn the marketing system, TradingView, just to learn and program this software to help me out and program this software to watch these purchases. I'd have 30 boxes running, right? Yeah. And it's just like monitoring how many buys are going on.
I remember,
because what they do is they pre-buy.
Yeah.
They give the signal at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but they're pre-buying ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun. It was interesting.
Get an email from you and you were like, dude, I'm in deep. Like, I'm in deep on this one. I'm in deep. I'm like, what have you gotten yourself into? And,
have you seen Wolf of Wall Street?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm crashing my Ferrari.
Like my favorite movie.
Yeah. I was crashing my Ferrari and I thought I was just driving like a straight mofo, right?
Oh, it's so great. And so when did you get out? When did you stop doing it?
When did I get out? It was, I don't know. It was sometime in 18.
Dave McCabe, I've been clean for
I
haven't traded in 6 months.
It was before the big dump. Like Bitcoin is it still down in the 3,000s?
No, it's
4,000 now.
Yeah, it's hovering between 38 and 4. Okay. Today was actually a pretty good day for it.
Okay.
So I
got out before those big dumps.
Yeah.
Whatever caused that dump, I got out.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of stabilized, which is really interesting. We've been talking about this before, where it's staying between this 35 and 4,000 range. Bitcoin, this is
right,
and just kind of pinging in between the two, And you still see some, I mentioned you guys in pre-show. I've been following BitTube for a while. What was really, really interesting, they decided to axe their porn. They had a xxx.bittube.com. And they did a community vote, and the community said, no, we don't want that associated with BitTube. They burned it down. And the coin dropped for a little bit and then came back up. And, today it's doubled in price. Again, not reasons you should buy it. It's just interesting, right?
I have no idea what it is. And I'm so happy that I don't. I'm so happy for that fact.
Oh, that's so funny. So
I will tell you, I did enjoy the builds.
Yeah.
I love the hardware. I love tweaking the hardware and Windows, and that was a rush. It's when it comes to money, I just wasn't good at it.
Yeah.
I did what I did.
At the end of the day, do you think you were positive on, take out the hardware sells?
Oh, the hardware's okay.
Take those out. Do you think the coin trading that you did, were you positive on that side?
The only thing I never tracked was power usage. I never tracked power usage. So it's hard to say. I do believe I am. But I mean, obviously the hardware way puts me over the top into the black. So
Uyghur, what about you?
Oh, what do you mean? Like, was I positive?
Yeah.
Oh, 100. Like, yeah. I didn't lose money on anything because the hardware came back. The motherboard CPU for that rig is now my Unraid box. So, I mean, I consider that a pretty good reuse of the stuff.
Right.
Burst, maybe not. I think some of my burst drives, I think the first 2 I made back. The other ones I probably broke even. So those ones maybe I didn't make money on. But like we said, I got extremely lucky that the date I said I was getting out was the peak.
Yeah.
That was extreme luck. I mean,
you did. You called it. But you know what? You've got a good instinct for that.
But that was an instinct, though. I can just say that was, I said when my kid is born, and my kid decided to be born on the 29th of December, and I stuck to my plan. I am glad that I didn't. I was very tempted to say, I could stay in though. Look at this. We're at 19,000, right? Like, so I did stick to it in that regard.
Yeah.
But
you and I did a show, and I said, I remember saying this, and you might have been hammered on this show.
I probably was.
I said, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. This is not sustainable. Like, there is no way. And
I don't remember that, so probably, yeah.
Like Physician Heal Thyself, that would have been for me. That should have been. Although we had
the tulip thing, right? Right. You were relating that to the tulip.
Yeah, no, right on. Yeah, I know you remember parts of that conversation.
Yeah.
We argued for quite a long time. It's out there if you want to find it. It's a year and some change ago, maybe.
No, you guys don't need to go find that one. It's okay.
that is one. That's a classic for the ages. You and me doing this kind of thing and kind of arguing about it. And we both had a little too much to drink, and it was pretty fun. But it was, and I've always said this, like I think this crypto space has a lot of life in it, not money wise, but in the interesting technology that'll do. And it's the struggles that Bitcoin has had and Ethereum has had to kind of keep up. And Ethereum is really, really interesting. I mean, there's some really interesting technologies built on top of Ethereum that I want to continue to pay attention to. And if I'm not engaged in them some way, I won't pay attention. And I think we're a decade out from some of those, but there's some really interesting thing with smart contracts and some of those other things where I think, just the other day, as an example, we have this coaching community around the world that's doing all these things, that has all this data that they want exposed, like a coaching directory. And there's really no better place to kind of keep that kind of information where it needs to be accurate, but it also can't be tampered with than a blockchain. That's the actual perfect implementation for something like that. And so I think those use cases are still there. Dave, we really separate kind of cryptocurrency from the blockchain. Mike and I talked about that a bunch last week in the post show, where those are really separate items. But no, I'm glad. You had your experience. You went through that. You got in the Wolf of Wall Street. You were crushing it because I stopped hearing from you for a while. Like, we were all talking, and then all of a sudden Dave kind of disappeared.
Sometimes, Jim, when you go dark, you just can't bring your friends in and take them down with you. You just got to let them go.
Like, you went off the grid.
I went dark.
Yeah.
I did what I had to do to get out, Jim.
Yeah.
That's all I did.
Yeah. No, right
That's
on.
all I did.
It's super fun. And Mike, you've still got some coin, right? I mean, yeah.
I've held it all.
And at what point do you get out, or do you?
No, at this point, this is, in the rare event that some event happens in my life and I need the $400, right? But at this point, that $400 just stays in there and sees if we can get back up.
Yeah,
to where it was, just for fun.
I think I'm at 6, right? Yeah. And you're just kind of like, okay, it's just interesting to have it in there. It's probably at its peak had values in the multiple thousands, and so I've dollar cost average in on some of these. So I was after missing that opportunity with Edward the first time. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do $50 a month in dollar cost on the way down, and so I bought all the way down from about 7,000, maybe down to the current 3,000, just bought in all the way down. And then at some point I'm like, okay, I can't stomach this anymore.
Right.
Like, this just is, when is this thing going to stop? Of course, I think it's stopped right now. It's been pretty stable for quite a few months. And that doesn't mean I'm still dollar cost averaging in, by the way, but yeah, there you go. Dave, that's a great story. It's good to catch up with you on that one as well and see the dark side, so to speak.
Right.
Of it.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I had to get out.
Yeah.
I needed to move on.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah. Good. By the way, I think an Unraid server makes a pretty good burst box. I'm just saying it's possible. It could. A Docker container with a burst miners in it.
I just got to no, Jim. No, it doesn't. No, it's not. Don't do it.
I'm just joking.
I'll be the yin yang there.
I'm just joking. I would, at this point in time, if anybody was thinking of getting into anything. By the way, I think if you got some hard drive space and you want to learn about this, about software, about why it works, how crypto works, how the blockchain works, get involved in a community. I still think Burst is a great community to get involved in. There's some really great things there.
If you want to learn, I would suggest, yes, Burst is a good one to do, right? Because it's hard drive space. You don't need a GPU.
Full power.
And then go just do your research and Google the different methods of proof of stake, proof of capacity, and proof of work. Look at those three and you'll really start to kind of understand, at least on the crypto side, how these blockchains are put together.
I would say if you could read those 3 white papers and understand each one of those, then yes, you may continue to the next step to evaluate.
Yeah. Well, there's some great podcasts on it too, though, that of some really helpful people who know and understand what's going on and can explain this concept and these ideas. I don't think it should be ignored. Are people going to get rich off it? Totally. There are people every day that are, but Dave, they're, it's one in hundreds of thousands, so to speak. And there's it's the Wild West. I mean, it is everything you were doing and some. And even in the Burst community, we've gone through, like I just mentioned, we've gone through this POCC, doing some mining on BHD, not telling anybody through the pools. They were skimming off the top. That pissed a bunch of people off. They left because it's all decentralized. So they left to go do their own thing. And it's total drama. Like, I mean, if you, it's total drama out there. It's so uncontrolled. And that's what they wanted. They want it to be unregulated and up to the will of the crowd. Well, that's weird for most people. So,
I would just take your hard drives, build a server, take the wife and kids out, go get an ice cream cone. Just forget about it. Just leave it behind you.
Oh, super great.
You'll be better off and you will thank me later.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good advice. Good advice. Mike, would you add anything to it?
I think that sounds like a great idea.
I just had ice cream before the show, so I don't need to. Sarah brought me some delicious ice cream.
I appreciate that you stay in it because you supply that mining itch for me, right? Like we talk about it once a week, even just hearing about it, right? It's like, okay, I'm good because Jim's doing it.
Well, I've been doing some things, like I've been replotting some stuff and doing some other things and messing around. I still kind of like that. For me, the thrill is in the hardware configuration bit. And so, I've been doing some things to make it better and move stuff around and make them faster and trying out new miners and I like it. Like, it's my entertainment. It's one of the things I like to do. I've resolved, like, this stuff is absolutely worthless. Like, it has no more value than the MP3s that I store on my hard drives. Right.
Lopped in the chat says Jim's a bad influence. He's going to send Dave a pair of 4 terabyte discs as a free hit.
Right.
Hey, Dave, I got some hard.
Hello, my name is Dave. I've been out of crypto for a year. This is my story. It's a dark
really
story.
Good trading software, Dave.
Gather around.
Oh. Did you pay for this? There was a trading software. Did you have to pay for that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Another investment you have to take into consideration in order to get out.
Yeah. Right on.
Remember, I was selling rigs.
Yeah.
I was supplying the drugs, sort of, and the Hondies were flowing, Jim. I was peeling them.
No, there was people. I was going to sell those 1060s that I have, and I'm kind of glad I didn't. I've been repurposing for other stuff, and there were stuff. I mean, it was selling for crazy. Mike, like I said, Mike, you've got that sense of like it's the time to sell, and you always were selling at the peak.
It worked out, especially on those cards. Right. Like, who mines for a year on cards and then gets almost double what they paid for them when they bought them.
Right.
And I bought and sold used, by the way. I never bought a new card. I bought off eBay. I sold on eBay. So
yeah. No, great stuff. And now NVIDIA's got some new generation cards that are out. I would never buy those for mining. GPU mining is over. Let me hear me say this. GPU mining is over.
Yeah.
There is nothing you can mine at this point that has any value on the GPU side. That may be different in some other areas, but no, that part is done. If you're joining us live, I think we've gone long enough on this crypto. Dave, thanks for exposing the soul, so to speak.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
You guys both hang tight for 1 second. If you joined us live, thanks for coming out tonight. And thanks for other Jim and Andrew and whoever else, Brian, if you're still out there, maybe Joe is out there. Thanks for staying around for the crypto. It makes it more fun when we talk about this, and you're there. So I appreciate you guys staying out. We'll see you next week. I think we have Rich Hay up next week. Let me just take a quick look.
Joe's out there.
Let's take a quick look at the schedule. Really fast, I think, because Rich was going to bring us all the updates on the MVP Summit, which would be pretty cool. I think we'll see Windows 10 1903 by the time we're broadcasting next week. I think we'll see that. It is Rich Hay. So we're Rich Hay, and then I'm out for a week. So we'll see you guys next week. Take care.